March 2028. It had been 3 years since Emperor's Domain launched, a fantasy kingdom-building game that shook the entire gaming industry with its insane graphics and addictive, choice-driven storytelling. In that time, it had gathered over 1.9 billion players, and the number kept climbing every single day. A year ago, the devs added a new feature that flipped everything on its head: a real money reward system. Complete high-difficulty missions or pull off impossible achievements, and you could earn cryptocurrency rewards anywhere from $100 up to $500,000. Predictably, the world lost its mind. New players flooded in, old players came back, and playing Emperor's Domain quietly became a legitimate profession. Within 6 months, even governments started treating it as a recognized job. One of those serious players was Rowan. Inside a sleek, spotless gaming room packed with top-tier gear, Rowan sat glued to his monitor. The young man, blonde hair and blue eyes, leaned forward with laser focus, thumbs dancing across his gamepad. The rapid tapping filled the room like rain on glass. His expression was tight, intense. Whatever mission he was on wasn't some casual side quest. His eyes narrowed from time to time, and his fingers moved faster as the pressure built. Then, suddenly, his shoulders relaxed. A slow grin tugged at his lips as the notification popped up on the screen. Dash, you have conquered Duke Nua and seized control of Autumn Flower Kingdom. Dash reward. 0.9 vintage coin has been sent to your wallet. Huh. Finally, Rowan laughed, eyes shining. 3 weeks of no life for grinding, and the old fox is dead. 0.9 vintage coin is worth every second. One vintage coin was valued at $88,999. 0.9 came out to roughly 80 grand. $80,000 for doing nothing but sitting in a chair and playing a game. No investment, no risk. Just skill, time, and a healthy obsession. Rowan leaned back and let out a long breath. I did promise myself I'd rest for 2 days after taking down Duke Nua. Should I hit a hotel or club? Ever since he bought this house 4 months ago, he'd basically turned into a hermit. His social life was on life support. A night out could at least remind him what other human beings looked like. With his looks and money, getting a few girls interested wouldn't be a challenge. He thought about it for a while, then sighed and surrendered the idea. To keep my promise, I won't touch Emperor's Domain for 3 days, he decided. But that doesn't mean I can't play other games. That counts as a break. A small smile appeared as he thought about revisiting the neglected titles in his library. But then a new notification flashed on his monitor, and his smile died. Dash, you have completed hidden mission. Unlock the Dark Duke's diary. Dash, you will be transported to Emperor's Domain in 34 seconds. Dash, reward will be distributed afterward. Good luck. Huh. Rowan blinked. Is this some kind of dev prank? He frowned. He defeated 3 other dukes before this, and none of them had dropped anything personal. No royal robes, no keepsakes, nothing. So why did this duke drop a diary? And why was a diary supposedly capable of transporting him? The whole thing sounded like bad fanfiction. Random, absurd, and way too vague. Dash time remaining in 9 seconds. Dash time remaining in 8 seconds. The countdown ticked away. Rowan stared at it, brow furrowed. He didn't actually believe he'd be transported anywhere, but he was curious what would happen after it hit 0. Maybe it would unlock the diary as a special item. In Emperor's Domain, even weird equipment could hide powerful bonuses. For all he knew, this diary might reveal some broken secret, how to awaken magic, or hidden lore about the Dark Dragon Empire. Dash time remaining in 1 second. Dash time remaining. Midnight. The instant it hit 0, something yanked at him. Rowan felt a violent jolt, like his entire body had been ripped loose from reality. The room warped and smeared, colors twisting into a vortex of blinding light. His stomach lurched. For a moment, he felt weightless, as if he were falling upward through clouds. The sensation was unreal, nothing like a VR effect, nothing like real life. It felt as if his very being was being dragged through a tunnel made of pure energy. His mind spun, desperately trying to make sense of it. With a groan, Rowan opened his eyes. He was no longer in his gaming room. He sat up slowly, realizing he was in a small, unfamiliar room built with rough, earthen walls. It looked like something from an old movie or straight out of Emperor's Domain. He was lying on a simple wooden bed, bandages wrapped around his stomach and head, the dull ache beneath them telling him whoever owned his body had been badly injured before he arrived. Did I really get transported into the game? Rowan muttered. Or is this some insane lucid dream? To test it, he slapped his own stomach. Instant regret. Pain exploded through his torso, ripping a sharp cry from his throat. The injury that had been numbed by his shock suddenly roared to life. At that exact moment, glowing text appeared in front of his eyes, and a mechanical voice rang in his head. Transportation complete. Welcome to Emperor's Domain. Reward is being SS-rank 100x rewards, a passive skill. Every achievement, whether trivial or monumental, triggers a reward. With this skill, the quality of all rewards is multiplied by 100. SS-rank copy, an active skill that allows the user to copy any skill from a target whose power is below SS rank. SS rank Eyes of Revelation, an identification skill that reveals the stats and information of everything, humans, monsters, items, and more. SS rank Merge, an active synthesis skill, automatically merges required materials into finished items. Extremely useful in crafting, alchemy, medicine making, blacksmithing, and large-scale production. SS rank Beast Taming, an active control skill, guarantees a 100% success rate when taming any beast below SS rank. As these descriptions flashed one after another in front of him, Rowan could only stare. Every single skill was terrifying in its own way, not just for combat, but for building and managing a territory. On Earth, when he played Emperor's Domain, he'd only ever managed to obtain a C-rank merge skill. Even with just that C-rank version, he'd been unstoppable in the game's economy and crafting systems. Now he had the SS-rank version of the same skill. He honestly couldn't imagine how broken he'd become once he fully made use of all this. All these skills, but why? Rowan frowned. In the novels he'd read, transmigrators always had some clear objective. Slay the Demon King, become the strongest mage, save the world. What about him? As if in response, a new prompt appeared. Main quest. Evolve your territory to SSS rank. Rowan's jaw almost hit the floor. SSS rank? You gotta be kidding me, he muttered. I played Emperor's Domain for 3 years and barely pushed my territory to B rank. And now I'm supposed to reach SSS. Back in the game, even the top-ranked player, Venerable Mario, had only managed to reach A-rank territory. In an interview, the guy had flat out said it was impossible to go higher. He'd even formed a 20-man elite squad of gamers to help him conquer other kingdoms and optimize everything. It still wasn't enough. So how was Rowan, alone and injured, supposed to hit SSS rank? Was that rank even real in Emperor's Domain? The system answered before he could spiral further. On Earth, gamers had their limits. In this real game world, there are no limits. Everything is achievable. The words were meant to be encouraging, but they only deepened his headache. On Earth, he played from the comfort of a padded chair, eating snacks while tapping a controller. Battles were exciting, but painless. Strategy sessions were long, but only mentally tiring. Here, if he fought, he would bleed. If he schemed, the stress would be very real. This wasn't a game anymore, no matter what the system called it. Rowan rubbed his temples. Maybe I'm panicking for nothing. For all I know, my territory might already be B rank. Or at least C or a... He took a breath. Open character status, he said. Opening character panel. A translucent panel unfolded before his eyes. Rank, FF rank. Title, Village Head. Territory, FF rank, Winter Seed Village. Area, 20 square kilometers. Population, 3,000 plus. Resources, timber, farmlands, small river. Name, Rowan Winterseed. Age, 18. Health, 49% badly injured. Power, FF rank. 1 million evolution points required to evolve. Evolution points, 0. Skills. SS rank, 100x rewards. SS rank copy. SS rank Eyes of Revelation. SS rank merge. SS rank beast taming. Rowan stared at the panel, waiting for some hidden blessing to jump out at him. It didn't. This is outrageous, he snapped. FF rank? Both me and my territory. His irritation boiled over. System, send me back to Earth, he demanded. Right now, he'd been yanked away from a luxurious, easy life, money, comfort, freedom, and dumped into a half-ruined backwater village with trash-tier stats and no resources worth mentioning. On Earth, these starting conditions were what gamers called a curse. The system's response was merciless. Dash, you may return to Earth after completing your mission. Until then, this is impossible. His mood tanked completely. You really are heartless, you know that. He exhaled slowly, forcing himself to calm down. Fine. If I can't go back, then at least tell me who I am. I don't know anything about this body or this region. If he was stuck here, he might as well gather information. The system obliged. Dash memory fragment available for purchase. Cost, 100,000 evolution points. Rowan's eye twitched. Can I buy on credit and pay it back later? Dash affirmative. Delivering memory fragment. Pain hit him like a hammer. A sharp spike drove through his skull, and he cried out, clutching his head. His body rolled off the bed and hit the cold floor, limbs twisting as the agony in his brain surged again and again, like someone was forcefully engraving information into his mind. After several long seconds, the pain vanished. In its place, memories flooded in. Rowan Winterseed, only son of Dragon Winterseed, the former village head of Winterseed. 6 years ago, Dragon had left the village to travel to another kingdom, seeking a rare type of milk. He never returned. After months of silence, the villagers declared him dead. At just 12 years old, Rowan had been pushed into his father's position, forced to become the new village head with no real experience. Predators immediately smelled weakness. Neighboring villages began raiding Winterseed, stealing food, and capturing able-bodied men to sell as slaves. With every attack, their forces shrank. With fewer defenders on the borders, monsters like Raytax and goblins grew bolder and attacked more frequently. Rowan did his best. He used every tactic and bit of knowledge his father had taught him. It was never enough. The weight of leadership pressed down on him day after day. For years after Dragon's disappearance, the strain broke him. Rowan fell ill with a disease no healer could cure. 2 years ago, the illness completely wrecked his body, leaving him crippled and unable to move freely. 6 months ago, he slipped into a coma. During that time, Winterseed's situation deteriorated even further, sliding deeper into poverty and danger than it had ever known. As the last fragments of memory settled, the door to the room creaked open. A group of ragged villagers rushed in, eyes wide with shock and relief. Lord Rowan, you're awake.
Hey everyone, Firescale Audiobooks here. If there's a novel you'd love to hear more of, you can support us on Patreon or Ko-fi. Depending on your tier, I'll make extra parts just for the stories you're most excited about. Usually I can only upload 4 to 5 parts of each novel, but with your support we can go beyond that. And of course, don't forget to hit subscribe. It helps more than you know.
Rowan's cry of pain from the sudden ache in his head drew the attention of everyone around the small hut. Hearing his loud cry, they abandoned their tasks and sprinted towards the room. Young Master, a beautiful white-haired young lady screamed as she flung open the locust-infested wooden door. Following behind her were 2 older women and 1 older man. All of them, including the young lady, were dressed in tattered clothes, evidence of the village's poor status. Seeing the ragged group run into the room, Rowan, who had just finished arranging his fragmented memories and realizing his identity and situation, frowned at the stats of the First Lady displayed before him. Name, Riella Vinkard. Occupation, tailor. Special skill, X2 sewing speed. Can sew clothes 2 times faster than other professionals. Status, emotional. He recognized her from his memories. Riella was the daughter of the former captain of the village's army, who had died protecting other villagers from goblins. She had been living with Rowan since then, and their relationship was very close. Seeing a healthy Rowan sitting on the bed, Riella's eyes turned wet, and she immediately ran to hug him, pressing her body deeply against him as she cried her heart out in his embrace. "I thought I'd lost you, Rowan. I've missed you so much," she wept profusely. "You haven't. I'm back now, Riella." Rowan consoled her, patting her soft white hair as he turned to view the stats of the others in the room. His eyes fell on the man in front of him, whom he had also seen in the memory fragment. Name, Brandon. Occupation, assistant. Special ability, territory management. Possesses extraordinary talent in smooth running of territory. Status, surprised. Exceptional ability, where his other skills? Rowan pondered with a frown. Almost immediately, a detailed stats with his rank included was revealed. Brandon, occupation, assistant, rank. Special abilities. Territory management. Possesses extraordinary in smooth running or territory, F rank. Lord of gambling. Probability of winning every bet, gamble, etc. is increased by 20%, rank E. Sweet tongue. Smooth talker. Can even fool a monkey into eating meat, rank D. Status, shocked. Brandon, seeing this, Rowan was beyond impressed. I can keep him close to me to manage territory management while I concern myself with other aspect. While he didn't want to copy the territory management skill, he decided to copy the gambling one as it will be useful for rewards in the future, such as loot boxes and mystery cards. Without wasting time, he proceeded to copy the skill. On Brandon's character tab, a special window popped out. Confirm to copy, Lord of Gambling. Confirm. Ding. Skill, Lord of Gambling, has been copied successfully. Are you ready to merge with Lord of Gambling? Yes. Merging 1%, 6%, 100%. Skill merged successfully. It's pretty easy to copy skills, haha. I wonder what impressive skills I'll get to copy next, Rowan mused. Still under Riella's tight embrace, as he felt the softness of her soft breasts, Rowan proceeded to view the stats of the two older women. Leora and Tyora were his personal cooks and had played a role in his life since the death of his mother. After Rowan was done noting their stats, his stomach began protesting violently for nutrition. Hearing his grumbling, Riella let go of him and stood up. Her cute face filled with worry faced him as she said, "I'll go prepare something for you to eat," and left the room. Tyra and Leora went with her, leaving only Brandon in the room. "Young lord, it is a big miracle that you have recovered. Everyone in the village had given up on you, believing you would never be able to survive," Brandon said with a smile. Rowan nodded in response as he stood up from the bed and proceeded to the mirror in the room to observe his visage. The reflection in the mirror was that of a young man with rough jet-black hair and ocean-like blue eyes. His face was well-proportioned. While he looked pretty amazing, the roughness of his hair and other poor body care factors reduced his attractiveness. "Not bad," he muttered before turning to Brandon. "Judging by the state of your clothes, I can tell the village has declined significantly since I fell ill. Do you mind explaining in detail what has happened during my absence?" Rowan inquired. "Your observations are correct, as usual, my lord. Not only has our village declined, but we have also fallen and become vassals under Glenwood Village." Brandon began narrating with a pained voice, informing Rowan of all the events during his absence. According to him, the population of the village had decreased by almost 45% due to the war and famine that constantly tormented Winterseed Village. Additionally, due to the decline in soldiers, goblin attacks had become frequent, resulting in the loss of food and lives. Glenwood had seized control over Winterseed River for their horses, resulting in farmers being unable to farm properly, thereby leading to a further decrease in food production. Glenwood Village? Aren't they the village to the west that became vassals to another village during my father's reign? Has Winterseed fallen so much during my absence that we become easy targets for a small village like Glenwood? Rowan asked with a frown. While Rowan hadn't heard of Winterseed on Earth, the news of Glenwood being the weakest village was pretty popular. He couldn't believe his village was a vassal to such a weak village. It was disheartening. I apologize, young lord. Even with my strategy, I couldn't prevent these disasters, but I believe as you ascend to the position of village head once again, we will survive, Brandon said, bowing his head slightly. No need for that. We will start preparing to end the vassal relationship with Glenwood immediately and take back what is ours, Rowan said with a smile. He had dealt with far worse territorial issues online. Now it was time to implement the real deal. Gather all the able-bodied men at the village square tomorrow morning for a meeting, he commanded. Winterseed Village is one of the smallest villages in the southern region. In the past, despite its size, it was popular among other villages for its vast supply of fresh food and the strength of its defense against savage monsters. Nevertheless, this fame ended when the previous village head left to get milk and never returned. It was the bright hours of the morning. The gentle morning sun had risen, providing a bright, calm light over Winterseed Village Square where a large number of youths and middle-aged men had gathered around Rowan Winterseed, their village head who had miraculously recovered. The village square was a large expanse of land, purely covered with green lawn grass. Every important meeting is held in this place. In the middle, Rowan stood, surrounded by his guards and Brandon. Rowan observed the men around him with a slight frown on his face. They aren't that many in number, around 500 or so. If we should fight Glenwood, we would be at a disadvantage in terms of numbers. Is this everyone? Rowan asked, scanning the gathered men. Brandon nodded. Yes, sir. These are all the men fit for fighting. The rest are either too old or too young. Rowan nodded. While the numbers weren't that many, adding those men Brandon mentioned would be a waste of time. All right then, we will work with the men we have. Rowan turned to the men who gazed at him with respect and added, Great men of Winterseed, thank you for heeding my call and leaving the comfort of your homes to present yourselves today. I promise the meeting will be worth it. Rowan began by giving a long speech of appreciation. If the game mechanics work the same as the online game, a reward would be given for triggering the emotions of the soldiers. Our village has fallen into the hands of those bastards who harshly treated our people. But that will end now as I have returned. We will claim back our land and theirs and make their people go through the same fate. Yelling the last part, Rowan lifted his hands and gazed upon the expressions of the men around him. Yeah, Lord Rowan has grown. Our village is blessed. We will fight for you, Lord Rowan. Reacting to his speech, the men cheered with determination and happiness. Goal: motivate more than 500 soldiers has been achieved. Reward: 500 evolution points. Ding. 100x reward activated. 50,000 evolution points have been rewarded. Ding. You have an impending repayment. 50,000 evolution points have been deducted. Remaining 50,000 evolution points. 0. A series of prompts popped up before his eyes. It worked. Seeing the initial prompts, a smile crept on his face. But noticing the later prompts, the smile on his face disappeared faster than it had appeared. Fuck, it didn't even wait a second before collecting the ones I owe, and I still have more to pay. Rowan let out a short sigh and waved at the men to calm down. For those of you who have completed your military training, proudly step out so I can identify you, he announced. Following his words, 5 middle-aged men from the crowd walked aside. They were tall and muscular, which displayed the evidence of the training they had undergone. After walking out, the 5 of them bowed their heads slightly before Rowan, who then nodded and proceeded. Starting today, you 5 are our new captains, Rowan declared. Your job is to train the untrained and turn them into soldiers. Thank you, young lord, one of the men said, clearly moved. Rowan smiled at them. You all deserve your new titles. Make good use of this and make our village strong again. We will, they replied with emotions in their voices. That is all for today. A lot of development will take place in the village and details of it will be passed to everyone. When you return home, pass the news that your village head is alive and is ready to conquer our enemies. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. 2 hours after the meeting, the news of Rowan recovering reached every nook and cranny in the small village. It was a thing of joy as finally A leader would be able to comfort them in this hard time. However, while they were joyous, they couldn't help but wish the village head would act faster. In a small hut, a woman with tattered clothes could be seen holding a baby wrapped in rag, but of better quality than the rag she wore. "Darling, are you sure the village head would save us?" the woman asked her husband with worries in her tiny voice. The baby in her hands looks malnourished and hungry. It started to cry, and the mother patted its head with tears in her eyes. "I believe in the village head. He is active now and is ready to claim back our village from those devils. I, as one of the new captains, will fight for our village," the husband replied. He is one of the new captains Rowan had elected today. While his words were comforting, it didn't hide the starvation of his wife and little kid. However, seeing their condition, he became even more motivated. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Rowan was sitting inside his small room alone at this moment. His mind was active as he plotted out all strategies available from his game experience. System. Is the planner feature available for use in the real game world? Rowan suddenly asked the system. Planner is a special feature available for gamers in his previous life. It helps them input their goals, and the system keeps track of it, informing them about every improvement and decrement. Positive. Planner LV. 1. Cost. 200,000 evolution points. Crap. Rowan cussed inwardly, but he already expected it, as this feature costs over $2,000 in his previous life. I need to evolve my skills and my power. I can't borrow evolution points anymore, Rowan sighed. As he fell into a deep thought once again, the wooden door pushed open and Brandon ran in. "Young lord, soldiers from Glenwood are arriving from the south." Rowan had just returned from setting up his village's defenses and was sitting in his room, deep in thought, when Brandon rushed in with alarming news. "Lord Rowan, Glenwood soldiers are arriving." "What?" Rowan exclaimed. He hadn't expected the Glenwood soldiers to return so soon and couldn't understand why they were coming to his village. Standing up, he scolded Brandon. "Brandon, why are they coming so soon? When I asked you about the state of the village, you never mentioned any war. How could you overlook something so important?" Brandon quickly explained the misunderstanding. He informed Rowan that Glenwood sent their soldiers every week to Winterseed to seize a large chunk of their farm produce and take new slaves with them. He even told Rowan how some men had tried to fight the soldiers in the past and lost their lives. "This is bad. If they take any more food from our farms, the villagers will die of starvation," Rowan muttered, contemplating with his hands on his jaw. This was a serious matter. The starvation of the villagers was not something he could allow. "How many men is Glenwood sending?" "Around 50 soldiers, my lord, and they're really strong," Brandon answered remorsefully. 50 men. We could definitely kill them if we wanted to, but that would provoke a brutal war between Glenwood and Winterseed, which would be the end of Winterseed. We can't let them take our food, but we also can't start a big war at a time like this," Rowan thought, stuck between two bad choices. If it were a week later, he would have stood a chance against them, as he would have improved his territory and his soldiers. But it hadn't even been a day since he arrived, and his territory was already in jeopardy. "Fine then, we'll sacrifice this week's ration. In return, I'll try to copy as many attack skills as I can from the Glenwood soldiers and teach them to my soldiers." It's a lose-win situation, Rowan finally decided. "Inform the new captains. Tell them to meet me at the village square. We'll set out to welcome our visitors." "All right." Brandon nodded and left the room. A few seconds after Brandon walked out, Riella strolled in with a cheerful smile on her face, happily swinging a basket of fruit. She was dressed in a short brown gown made with the poorest material, which accentuated her voluptuous curves. Taking a clearer look at Riella, Rowan noticed her seductive shape. Her bust was not unnaturally big, but wasn't small either. It was the lovable size that could fit perfectly in one's hands when they groped them. She also had a nice hip that would make even the gayest man stare twice, and her ass looked very soft. These features combined with her innocent face made her irresistible. As a guy who had spent a lot of quality time with models in his previous life, he could tell that Riella's beauty rivaled theirs. With a little cleaning up and better clothes, it would become difficult to resist her charm. "Young lord, you look really stressed. Here, I brought fruits for you." Riella smiled sweetly and lifted the basket of fresh fruit she was holding. It seemed she hadn't heard about the soldiers of Glenwood approaching the village. "That is very considerate of you, Riella," Rowan replied. "I will eat them when I get back." Riella nodded happily and kept the basket of fruit on the small stool beside Rowan's bed. As she squatted, Rowan couldn't help but take an extra look at her accentuated assets and smile to himself. After dropping the basket, Riella hopped cheerfully beside Rowan and held his hands like a little girl with her crush and said, "I will go with you, Rowan." But Rowan refused her request instantly. In a situation like this, revealing someone as pretty as Riella to those soldiers would be the dumbest decision any sane man with brain and rod could make. "I'm off to greet the soldiers of Glenwood. I fear you can't come with me because those bastards might try to seize the pretty innocent woman," he replied. Pretty." Riella blushed profusely, covering her heated face with her slender hands. Her gesture caused a slight jiggling that Rowan fortunately didn't miss. But he couldn't enjoy the sight more as he had more important matters to handle. He complimented her beauty for a few moments before rushing out of the hut, leaving the flustered Riella behind. It was still the bright hours of the morning, but the sun was getting hotter, reminding the people of Winterseed of noon's approach. At this moment, a small group of men, led by Rowan, could be seen strolling towards the southern border where Glenwood soldiers are approaching from. There were 7 in number. Rowan sat on a malnourished horse moving in front. Brandon and the 5 captains walked behind him. After a short 10-minute stroll from the village square, they finally arrived at the border, which had no fences guarding them. Rowan could see the former fences made of wood on the ground. He wondered what the cause of it was, but quickly dismissed it when he saw Glenwood soldiers. Compared to Rowan's weak group of 7, Glenwood had more than 50, and all of them rode on horses that looked stronger and healthier compared to Rowan's. The men had visible muscles and were dressed in nice leather armors that displayed the wealth of their village. In front of them, there was an older man dressed in a bright purple linen robe on a white horse, different from their black horses. He appears to be leading the soldiers. Looking at them, Rowan felt very jealous. His mind ran wild as he thought of different ways to kill these men and take all the goodies they had, but he was scared it would cause a greater war that would destroy his village at last. While his mind ran with these thoughts, his face maintained a calm look as he rode his horse, further closing the distance between them. "I see the young, dumb lord of Winterseed has risen from the dead." As they got closer, the older man, mounting the white horse in front, laughed while pointing at Rowan, mocking him. "What a mess! Winterseed is done for. Very soon, our lord will come and take you out of your position and obtain direct control over your village." Another soldier joined in the mockery. Winterseed men gave no reaction. Beforehand, Rowan had already warned them not to get provoked if the other party tried to mock them. Even though they felt mad that their young lord was getting bad-mouthed, they couldn't do anything but follow his orders. As for Rowan, he smiled as the men continued with their insults while he observed their stats and did what he came here for. Name, Fredo. Occupation, warrior. Special ability, sword master. Status, proud. Name, Snitcha. Occupation, warrior. Special ability, sword master. Status, want to take a pee? After observing the stats of the first 20 soldiers, he noticed all of them had the same special skill, which was swordmaster. The lack of versatility in the distribution of skills among them made Rowan kind of disappointed. He was expecting to copy a lot of skills that he could teach his soldiers later, but it turns out he might be stuck with just one. Fucking useless bastards. Can't believe these pathetic men have just one skill, and it is just a random sword skill. Rowan cussed inwardly. He took his time to rain down as many curses as he could at whosoever gave them the same skills. Don't tell me, even after resurrection, the young lord of Winterseed still can't speak when it matters? The little prick can't even stand for himself, the old man scoffed, causing the soldiers to laugh their hearts out. "Young lord, what should we do?" Seeing that Rowan hasn't spoken a word, Brandon softly tapped his shoulder to get him to speak. Rowan woke up from his thoughts with the light taps. He gave Brandon a nod of acknowledgement before looking at the soldiers laughing at him. He spread his gaze among the group before clearing his throat and greeted in the most cheerful voice one can use in such a situation. "Welcome, strong, handsome, and big men of Glenwood." Hearing his cheerful greeting, the soldiers of Glenwood looked at each other and laughed their hearts out once again. "Who the heck greets like that?" one of them said amidst his laughter, grabbing his stomach and laughing even more. But Rowan was unfazed. He continued with his unplanned greetings. "You guys are free to come in and carry out your orders from your beloved lord, and remember when you get back to your village, tell him the young lord of Winterseed is awake and is happy with a new vassal agreement. If I am not asking too much, you can also pass my intention to invite him for a nice feast in my village as a thank you for his good works." Rowan continued with his greeting, appreciating the soldiers and praising their village lord. While most of his words were sarcastic, he made sure to let the soldiers know of his good intentions. However, his words came as a big surprise to them, and they kept looking at him as if they were looking at a fool. The oldest especially, his aged, wrinkled face twisted in a slight frown. "Is he really thanking us for taking over his village and seizing his resources?" It seems the young lord forgot his brain during resurrection. But this is a good thing. Today is going to be a good day. No one will stop us. The oldest moved his horse forward a bit and replied to Rowan, "It is good that you are not trying to fight back the control of our lord. It shows you are a good leader and that you are not ready to risk the life of your people. For that reason, we will not take any of your women today and only take our regular portions of your harvest. As if I will let you take my people in the first place." Rowan scoffed, but he kept a smile on, feigning a good relationship with this man who he is currently observing through his system. Name, Waga. Occupation, warrior. Special ability, tongue of the Lord. When he passes the Lord's message, there's a 20% the order is obeyed. Status, proud. Pathetic, parrot occupation is definitely one of the worst occupations in the Emperor's domain, and that skill is the worst I have seen today. Welp, I will only copy the sword skill. You have spoken well, Waga. You and your soldiers can do what you want. You are all welcome. He greeted them in order not to appear out of place. The soldiers laughed heartily and rode their horses into the village gallantly. Some farmers in their farmland stood and watched as the soldiers marched into their village with sad looks on their faces, knowing their harvest would be taken once again. Random farmer is disappointed. Random farmer is disappointed. Several messages appeared in front of Rowan, causing him to look towards the farmlands where two old farmers stood with frowns on their faces, clearly disappointed. Rowan wore a smile on his face and made a hand gesture for them to calm down. Random farmer is considering. Random farmer is settled. Random farmer hopes you work harder. Plus 10 evolution points. Reward X 100, 1,000 evolution points has been rewarded. Plus 10 evolution points. Reward X 100, 1,000 evolution points has been rewarded. System has collected its repayment. Rowan smiled. He turned his horse back and followed the soldiers. He gave a few orders to the soldiers around him. His words seemed wise, and he got another ram. 2 hours later, the Glenwood soldiers were done collecting what they came for. 10 of their horses carried large baskets of freshly harvested wheat, rice, green vegetables, and fruits. The amount was enviable. They hadn't worked for it, yet they got to enjoy most of the harvest. While they were taking the harvest, Rowan copied their skills and merged with them. At that moment, a fresh set of exciting sword moves replayed in his head, filling him with the zeal to grab a sword and try them out. However, he copied the skills not because he wanted to use them, but to pass them on to his soldiers. When they finished training, they would become stronger, which meant his territory would grow stronger. As he was lost in thought, a beep sounded in his head, drawing his attention to a red prompt that appeared before him. Red prompts only appeared when there was a negative matter, so he knew it wasn't good news. Your territory has lost a considerable amount of resources. Seeing the message, he could only shake his head, as there was nothing he could do in this situation other than accept his unfortunate circumstances. He stood in a small field near the village exit, the green grass highlighted by the bright afternoon sun. The Glenwood soldiers were still with him, ready to deliver their final message before departing. Waga stood in front of them with a big smile on his face, pleased with the larger portion compared to last time. "This month's ration is very small," he said, though his words contradicted his expression. Hearing this, Rowan couldn't help but wish lightning would strike everyone related to Waga. "What are you saying? You've taken more than 80% of our harvest, and you're still not satisfied? How greedy can you be?" Brandon, who had been keeping his cool, couldn't hold back any longer and retorted harshly. "Yes, I have a pregnant wife who is famished, but you're eating all this and still complaining," one of the captains added angrily. Reacting, a few of the Glenwood soldiers drew their swords and rode their horses forward to challenge the unarmed captains. "Are you guys trying to pick a fight?" The captains did not back down. Though unarmed, they weren't afraid to fight these despicable pricks. "Stay calm, all of you," Rowan ordered, riding his horse between the two sides to stop a fruitless battle from taking place. Although he wanted to slay the Glenwood soldiers badly, he knew he didn't have the resources to do so and couldn't take any chances. "I apologize for my men's provocation. They haven't eaten in days and are really irrational. I will correct them later," he pleaded. Only then did the Glenwood soldiers sheath their swords and return to their positions. "Teach your men to control their mouths. Next time, we won't spare any of them," one of the Glenwood soldiers warned. "I will," Rowan smiled back. Waga observed Rowan and couldn't help but be impressed by his leadership. "I will definitely pass your good message to my lord. When he hears of it, I'm sure he would be happy to work with you and even consider helping your village build a new and stronger fence to prevent pest monsters," Waga said with a smile. "I hope you guys get swallowed by snakes on your way back to your lord, and you all get cuckolded by goblins. I'll be grateful if you do that. I wish you a safe journey back." Rowan bade them farewell. "Sure," Waga replied before signaling his men to start riding toward the exit of Winterseed Village. Rowan and his men watched as they exited the village with calm looks on their faces. Only after they left did Rowan turn his back and head back to his house, followed by Brandon and his captains. "Your captains are feeling bad about themselves. Your assistant wishes for your forgiveness." Several messages popped up, causing Rowan to look down from his horse at his men. They all walked behind him with dull steps, their faces filled with conviction. Seeing their disheartened attitude, Rowan, hungry for evolution points, immediately took the chance to cheer them up. "You guys did the right thing. You showed those men that we are not weak, but brave. Good job." Fortunately, his words worked like magic. Brandon and the captains looked at Rowan with bright faces. Thank you for the praises. They appreciated him, but Rowan was mostly interested in the system's messages. "Your assistant and captains are touched by your words and hope to do more. You have motivated them. Plus 80 evolution points. 100x reward activated. You have received 8,000 evolution points. System has taken its repayment, remaining 40,000 evolution points, 0. Just a little more and I will be out of debt," he thought to himself. He responded to the grateful words of his men with a smile and continued his ride home. On the way, he passed through the homes of his people and couldn't help but be disappointed at the poor state of their buildings. All the houses were mud structures with detached roofs. Due to the heavy rainfall in the past few days, most of the roofs had fallen and cracks had begun to appear on the walls. Another strong downpour, and these people would be out in the open. "I will work on this after taking care of the agriculture sector and ensuring proper food distribution as well as protection of farmlands. I'm sure with my merging skills, I will be able to come up with something better in a very short time," he thought. He also noticed the poor clothing they wore. Most were lucky to wear rags, while others were either naked or dressed in makeshift clothes made of dry leaves, a vivid testament to the poor living conditions of his people. As a lord ready to work, Rowan was determined to change everything as soon as he could. 12 hours after leaving Winterseed, Waga and his men could be seen riding down a lonely path of a tiny forest. The 10 horses with the harvest were in the middle, 20 soldiers rode in front, and another 20 rode slowly behind to guard it. The chances of them getting robbed were considerably low, but there are savage monsters like goblins who usually attack farmers and take their wares. Waga and his men discussed and laughed about the very poor mindset of Rowan, calling him weak and laughing at him for letting them take all his farm harvest without protesting. That Rowan guy is a big fool. If I were one of his villagers, I would kill him and take his place as the new lord. One of the soldiers laughed heartily with his hands on his stomach. He learned nothing from Dragon. While I hate Dragon, I can't deny that he's a really strong leader who would not take such disrespect. If it was him today, I am sure most of us would have returned to the Lord with injuries or might not even return at all, another added. Too bad that bastard didn't get to pass his nature and strength to his son before running away like a prick to get lost in God knows where. Who knows, maybe a hobgoblin found him and killed him. We are lucky there is no hobgoblin in our village. If not, even us 50 would not be able to stop it. The soldiers discussed their way throughout the journey. Wagga joined in a few of their discussions to buy some time and not be bored. Soon, they arrived at a large mass of land, guarded by a tall and strong-looking wooden fence. The guards mounting the fences saw them and opened the gate for them, letting them into the large territory of Glenwood. The houses here were of better quality, most crafted with brick and others with mud, but these mud houses looked very solid, and their roofs were made firmly with bamboo. The villagers were dressed in clear fabrics made out of sheep cotton. They were vibrant, healthy, and most of them even had the guts to be very fat. If Winter Seed people were here, they would definitely be envious of them. As Wagga and the soldiers rode past, the villagers, seeing the new supply of food, couldn't help but smile and wave at the gallant soldiers. Very soon, they arrived at the vicinity of Glenwood Lord. His house was very big and beautiful, showcasing his status. While it doesn't look like the castle of a king, compared to Rowan's ugly mud house, it could be considered one. Inside, a very fat middle-aged man could be seen sitting on a long chair with two Winter Seed women sitting beside him patting his fatty chest, which made the fatso smile in pleasure. Wagga, you have returned. Tell me everything I need to know. Were you able to get me another fine woman like I requested? The fatso asked with a smile on his greasy, ugly fat face. The women patting his chest had sad expressions on their faces. It was evident that they were not comfortable listening or doing the bidding of this fatso. Lord Fagin, sadly I wasn't able to get you a new woman, but there is good news. The portion this time is 2 big baskets more than the last one, and I also have other news for you, my lord. The young Lord of Winter Seed has recovered. Wagga's news caused the whole room to be silent for a short second as everyone digested the news. The women stopped patting the fatso's chest as the revelation sank in. The revelation that their lord has recovered from his incurable disease was big news, one that gave them new hope of freedom. But the fatso received the news differently. His control over Winter Seed is now threatened with its lord awakening. Tell me more about him. Did he try to fight you guys? Did he try to provoke a way? Did he ask for his village back? Tell me everything at once, he requested, his greasy chest heaving up and down as he seemed to be unsettled. But Wagga replied with a smile and gave him the shocking news. What? He did not fight back. He even invited me over to his village for a feast to thank me. The fatso was confused. What sort of lord would be happy to have his territory controlled by another? Could that guy be a cuckold, but in territory? Yes, we were shocked as well. At first, we thought he would ask us to go back, but he welcomed us, and when his men tried to pick a fight, he stopped them and apologized, Wagga replied. He continued speaking, telling how all the villagers didn't respond to them, stealing their harvest. As he kept speaking, the women patting Lord Fagin's chest began to lose their hope slowly. They could not believe that their lord would accept such a thing. This means they would be slaves to this fat, old bastard forever. It was a nightmare. As for Lord Fagin, he felt even more pleasured. His pleasure was akin to a villain who has just stolen the protagonist's lover. His fat, ugly face couldn't stop smiling as his thoughts ran wild with pleasure, giving him lots of mindgasm. Okay then, this is what you should do. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. 2 of your followers cuss you with all their being. 2 of your villagers wish that you get our asterisk ped and eaten by a horny goblin. 2 of your followers wish for you to get swallowed by a spring of fire. 2 of your followers wish your manhood never rises again. 2 angry followers wish you sleep and forget to wake up. And why though? Who the fuck is wishing me all these? Why are you targeting my damn manhood, for heaven's sake? It is now a new day after the visit of Glenwood soldiers, and fresh morning dew fell from the bright sky on the green leaves of winter seed farmland. The villagers have returned to their normal lives, working and farming as best as they can in order to reach the expected portion before Glenwood soldiers arrive again to claim them. In the southern part of winter seed, there was a vast land cultivated by the villagers for farming wheat and vegetables. On a special part of the land, there was a plantation filled with tall fruit trees. More than 100 farmers could be seen walking on their pieces of land with tired expressions on their faces, even though they enjoyed what they did. Women and children carried big and small baskets, respectively, to collect the ripe wheat and vegetables. A group of children could be seen in the fruit section, running around and collecting ripe fruits that had fallen. The scene was peaceful and serene, showing the unity among the villagers as they worked together for something to eat. Rowan and Brandon could be seen standing in the middle, observing everything with keen eyes, taking every detail into consideration as they set out to make plans to better the production in these farmlands. An elderly farmer could be seen standing beside them, explaining the situation of the farm in the past months. "My lord, the small river we have been seized by Glenwood soldiers, and they have asked us not to come close to it, or else they will take our lives. But without an adequate supply of water, we would not be able to grow wheat, and wheat is one of our major nutrients," the farmer complained. His worries could be heard through his old, shaky voice. Fortunately, the dew that falls every morning is enough to guarantee an adequate production of leafy vegetables, garden eggs, and tomatoes. Thanks to the rain of your father, we were able to plant some trees in his time, and with his guidance and protection, those trees have grown, and their fruit has become one of our major supplies in the past few years. Since the trees have already matured, they no longer require much water, but that can't be said for wheat and the other grains, he continued, going deeper into his complaint. In his previous life, Rowan only employed NPC farmers like this old farmer standing beside him to take care of his farmlands and produce food for his territory. He has never studied anything about this section. Also, he never had any further education in the area of agriculture save for basic knowledge. Thus, he was mostly naive about this topic. However, even with his limited knowledge of this topic, he understood that the agriculture of his village is badly affected and needs to be worked on quickly. Also, 2 weeks ago, we noticed a shortage of fruits and garden eggs in the morning when we returned to our farmlands to work. We did not know what or who harvested them in the night while we lay in our various homes. If that should repeat itself, we will starve for a really long time again, the old farmer added. "My lord, our soldiers did a little investigation of this matter 2 weeks ago, and we suspect that it is the handiwork of Raytax," Brandon quickly said to Rowan before he could even reply to the farmer. Raytax are active pest monsters that mostly operate at night, and they tend to destroy farmlands, most times stealing the matured fruits for themselves. They are really troublesome monsters. I have faced a few of them in my past life, and they're a big pain in the ass, Rowan scoffed. About the river, do not worry about them. In a week or so, we will gain back our control over it, he said to the farmer, assuring him. But have you tried adding other types of food to your farms? I notice we have no legumes growing on our farmlands. Why is that? He asked. Legumes are a major supply of protein, and the plants have a high fertility rate and a very short life cycle of approximately 3 months. The common ones like peas and beans take less than 3 months to mature through the seed phase to maturity. If they could plant something like this, they would have more food to eat in less than 3 months. It was really not a bad suggestion. There are other crops that Rowan would want them to grow, but the land they cultivate is very small and might not contain them. We have no seeds in our possession, my lord. We used to grow lots of beans back in the days and save up seeds to plant another season. But after you fell ill and Glenwood came, we had no choice but to devour the seeds, leaving us with nothing to grow more, Brandon explained. Rowan couldn't help but sigh. Even his supply of seeds was not something he could be happy about. For a developing village, seeds are very important resources in the agricultural sector. Fuck my pathetic luck for letting me get a downgraded village like this as my territory. How long would it even take for me to evolve this territory if everything is in shambles? Rowan discussed with the farmer more. He gave them some simple modern methods to make their farming work simpler and more efficient. The seed issue was settled quickly. Rowan decided that he would get those seeds when he was done conquering Glenwood. With the resources he obtains from them, he would construct new fences. Also, with the resources, he would finally be able to test his SSS-rank merge skills for the first time and see how they work. If it works as he thought it would, there would be a lot of inventions he would love to put in place in his village. Now, I have to get to my soldiers and teach them the sword master skill I stole from those bastards. After completing his supervision of the farmers, Rowan set out on his next submission. As he prepared to leave, he heard a sudden beep sound in his head. You have settled into your role and have started making necessary developments. The Creator has noticed your seriousness and will now release the necessary features. Command Reveal Feature to view it. As Rowan rode his horse down to the village square where the soldiers were already waiting for him, he decided to study the new message. Creator? This is my first time hearing this title. Who might this creator be? The developers of the game, or some sort of supernatural being? Rowan wondered. His sudden transportation from Earth to this world was still something he couldn't understand, and he was curious to know who or what sent him here and why. Anyway, that was something for another time. For now, he wanted to see this new feature the system spoke about and learn if it was something useful. Reveal Feature, he whispered, his voice barely audible. Ding! You have unlocked a new viewboard, Performance. Performance. Call out when you intend to view your performance and closeness to your final goal. Your main mission has been received, and the requirements for each level have been released. The system will now reveal your next requirement. TO, Evolve Territory 2 F rank. You must have land, 40 SKM superscript 2, current, 20 SKM superscript 2, population, 5,000, current, 3,000, 500 active soldiers, current, 505, military power, F rank, current, FF rank, agriculture, F rank, current, FF rank, power, F rank, current, FF rank, wood grade authority staff, current, none. Underscore Rowan read all the requirements with a calm expression on his face. He was currently walking through his village and couldn't show any negative emotions. Otherwise, his people would panic. I need to increase land mass and population, and the others include developing special sections of the village, but this authority staff. An authority staff is the greatest symbol of a lord. It displays the authority, identity, and power of a lord. According to tradition, when a lord is defeated and his authority staff is taken from him, the one who defeats him instantly becomes the lord of his territory. It is that simple and sacred. However, the last authority staff was taken away from Winterseed by Dragon, and since he didn't return, no one has been able to retrieve it, meaning Rowan would have to find one for himself. Getting one is almost impossible. It might take ages to find one and could involve killing another lord and taking over their authority staff. Luckily, I already have Glenwood Lord on my kill list. That Matafaka would not only pay for everything he has done to my people, but also lose his authority as a lord. The simple thought of it made Rowan smirk deviously. He hadn't stopped smirking when he heard a ding sound once again. Ding! A reward came with the features. 10,000 evolution points have been rewarded. 100x rewards activated. 1 million evolution points have been rewarded. System has taken its repayment, remaining 0 evolution points, 960,000. Rank F skill, Lord's Voice has been rewarded. Lord's Voice, each time you speak to your followers, their motivation increases by 10%. 100x rewards activated. Skill will now evolve. F rank Lord's Voice, S rank Super Voice. Super Voice, just your cough is enough to motivate your followers. When you give a speech, their motivation increases by 100% and their work efficiency increases by 200%. Seeing these new rewards, Rowan was very happy. Not only had he paid back the evolution points he owed the system and had extra, but he also got a new skill. I never knew the 100 extra rewards worked on skills too. I thought it only applied to evolution points and other rewards that have a numerical value attached. Rowan whispered with a smile on his face. "My lord, is there any problem?" Brandon asked. He heard Rowan's whispering and wondered if anything was bothering him. "No problem. Keep moving. We need to start today's training session early, so we can end before dawn and make lots of improvements," Rowan replied with a smile. "My lord, sorry to say this, but we do not have any battle techniques in our possession anymore. Most of our best blocking techniques and sword techniques were stolen by Glenwood soldiers when they first arrived. And you, my lord, haven't had any proper sword practice." Rowan understood Brandon's perspective of the issues. Sadly, he could not tell him about his special skill that enables him to steal other skills. Even if he told Brandon, there was a 100% chance Brandon would not believe him. "Do not worry. I always watch my dad use his best sword techniques while training with his soldiers, and I am very sure I will be able to pass on his technique with ease," Rowan lied. Brandon looked at Rowan, but had no reply. Your assistant finds your words hard to believe. Your assistant is motivated by your confidence. Your assistant wishes you won't fail to teach the soldiers. At noon, Rowan was already done passing the basics of the Swordmaster skills to the soldiers. As the hot afternoon sun beat down on Winterseed Village, a group of topless men could be seen at the village square, swinging their swords in a refined manner, following a synchronized pattern. Rowan and Brandon stood under a tall tree in the village square, observing the soldiers as they trained their bodies to the limit. The weather was unbearable, but these men, who had their family and village in mind to protect, continued training without stopping. Rowan's super voice also helped in the matter, motivating the soldiers to train harder and increasing their training efficiency twofold. Luckily, Rowan's current status as Lord and Tutor allowed him to view the stats of his people and observe the rate at which they comprehended the skill. Bala Warrior. Status, Training. Skill, Swordmaster. Comprehension, 10.44%. Judu's Warrior. Status, Training. Skill, Swordmaster. Comprehension, 9%. Roland Warrior Captain. Status, Training. Skill, Swordmaster. Comprehension, 17.56%. The captains have a far better comprehension rate than the others. They will be able to comprehend the skill fully in less than 5 days, while it will take the others around 8 days. Not bad at all, Rowan thought. The next time Glenwood visits is in 6 days. By then, he would have trained captains ready for battle and would finally begin his plan to take over Glenwood. Time ran by quickly. The hot afternoon sun disappeared from the sky as dusk began to settle in. At this moment, Rowan decided to dismiss his soldiers and return home. As Rowan strolled towards his hut after completing his session with his soldiers, he heard Riella's cheerful voice calling out to him and looked up. He saw Riella running towards him, her slender figure swaying gracefully with every step. He couldn't help but notice the bouncy motion as her chest moved up and down. "Rowan, you left so early and didn't eat the fruits I left for you," Riella complained as she hugged him. "You should take eating seriously, Rowan. I don't want you to fall ill again." Due to the weak texture of their clothes, Rowan could feel the full softness of her chest pressed against his. As he hugged her, he brought his hand down to her waist, feeling the perkiness of her behind. It was a heavenly sensation. These weak clothes aren't a bad idea if you think about it from another perspective. Rowan's perverted thoughts rang out. It is a bad idea. He soon changed his mind when he noticed that the bulge in his pants was getting bigger. But Rowan did not panic. He simply ended the hug before she could notice. Thanks to the poor light from the moon, she wouldn't be able to see. "Don't worry, I will eat more after I have a nice bath. Would you like to join me?" Riella's face turned a beautiful shade of red as she interpreted his words in her mind. She couldn't believe he would suggest such a thing. "W, what do you mean?" she asked, backing away with a red face. Under the moonlight, her blush couldn't go unnoticed by Rowan's shameless gaze, and he found her reaction very cute and innocent. The sudden zeal to break this innocence made his heart beat faster. We used to bathe together when we were young. Don't you remember? You always laughed at my small whinny and all that. Now my whinny has grown. Don't you want to see it? Rowan smirked. He fully understood that his words were not suited for someone as pure and innocent as Riella, but he continued, ensuring to paint a lewd picture in her mind to see her reaction. And, just as predicted, Riella fell for it. Her blush became redder and hotter, and her breathing became ragged. She covered her face shyly and replied, "I don't want to see your Winnie. Are you sure? It has gotten bigger and matured enough to start making children." Rowan continued, teasing her. "Gee, good night. I have changed the fruit, eat it." She couldn't take his teasing anymore and ran away with her hands covering her ears. She can't be this pure and innocent with such a wicked body, Rowan noted to himself before walking inside his hut to relax for the day. Entering his small hut, which only consisted of a big bedroom and a small bathroom, Rowan saw a basket of fruit lying on the stool beside his bed. He quickly recalled what Riella said before running away. This morning, he had left too early, even before Riella could come serve breakfast. Throughout the day, his stomach had remained empty. It was only at this moment, seeing the fruit, that his stomach began to react, grumbling hungrily. Beside the basket of fruit, he also saw a wooden bowl containing food, still hot and spewing out steam, spreading a calm aroma across the room that increased his hunger. I guess this was also prepared by Riella. She is indeed wife material. When all this is done, I will make sure to make her my first wife. She deserves it, Rowan whispered. Without wasting time, he took off his upper clothes, washed his hands, and proceeded to devour the food like a madman who had never tasted good food before. After devouring the soup, he couldn't help but comment on the splendid taste that made his stomach protest for more. Even with the scarcity of nice ingredients, she was able to prepare something so delicious, remarkable. Rowan grabbed an apple from the basket and began to chew on it, enjoying the taste of fresh fruit for the first time since he transmigrated. Character status. He decided to check how much progress he had made. Territory: Winterseed Village, FF. Area: 20 square kilometers. Population: 3,000 plus. Resources: timber, farmlands, small river. Performance reveal. Rowan Winterseed. Age: 18. Health: 100%. Power: FF rank. Evolution point: 960,000. Skills: SS rank 100x reward, SS rank copy, SS rank Eyes of Revelation, SS rank merge, SS rank beast taming, S rank super voice, FF rank swordmaster. There were not many changes in his character status except for the new arrangement and the performance tab, which he already knew about. Aside from that, there was swordmaster, which ruined his stats by being ranked FF. Rowan simply could not bear seeing such a weak skill among his stats. If he could, he wanted all his skills to be B rank at least. Only then would he be able to use them to their full efficiency. Not wasting time, he clicked the skill. Swordmaster, FF, an active compilation of basic sword attacks. When activated, increases efficiency and attack power with bladed weapons by 25%. Requirements to evolve skill: 50,000 evolution points. Evolve. Ding. Congratulations, you have evolved a skill. Swordmaster, FF. Swordmaster, F. Requirements for next rank: 75,000. Evolve. Ding. Congratulations, you have evolved a skill. Swordmaster, F. Swordmaster, E. Requirements for next rank: 150,000. Is there no way to keep on evolving the skill without me having to say evolve after each round? Negative. Fuck, evolve again. Ding. Congratulations, you have evolved a skill. Swordmaster, E. Sword Grandmaster, D. Requirements for next rank: 250,000. Continue. Congratulations, you have evolved a skill. Sword Grandmaster, D. Sword Grandmaster, C. Requirements for next rank: 500,000. Evolution points: 435,000. Insufficient evolution points. Rowan sighed, seeing the insufficient evolution points message. He was a little disappointed about how expensive it was to evolve the skill. However, He was still glad he had been able to evolve his skill so much in such a short time. In the game, one can only evolve their skill every week, which is equivalent to a month in the game's time. In his head, a large amount of data, including exclusive and amazing sword techniques, appeared. Curious, Rowan clicked the skill to view its new stats. Sword Grandmaster, see active sword skill, compilation of genius sword moves. When activated, efficiency and attack power when using a bladed weapon increases by 300%. Impressive, Rowan concluded, while his power is still at FF rank, which is equivalent to that of an average man. This newly evolved skill changes everything. The skill increases his attack power with a sword threefold, significantly enhancing his combat abilities. With this boost, Rowan would be able to wage war against 5 of Glenwood's soldiers and win easily. Ah! Help! Rowan was prepared to sleep when he suddenly heard a loud scream for help, followed by further commotion. Your followers are disturbed. 30 of your followers have collapsed due to fear. Your followers pray for your divine intervention in the matter. Your followers are escaping towards the north. A series of red prompts flashed before Rowan's retina, indicating the precarious situation of his territory. What the heck is happening? Rowan wondered as he jumped out of bed, ready to go outside and see what was going on. As he reached for the door, he could hear the sounds of hurried footsteps outside his hut as the villagers ran helter-skelter, screaming and praying for help. Just from the hurried footsteps and the fearful tones of their voices, Rowan could tell that it wasn't a simple situation. He couldn't help but become even more curious to find out what was happening. Rowan was very close to the door when Brandon and Roland, one of Rowan's new captains, abruptly rushed into his hut with worry etched on their faces. Roland, middle-aged and tall with a huge body, was imposing. Although Rowan had only known him for less than a week, he had already noticed how strong and reliable he was. Roland is also one of the fastest learners of the Swordmaster skill. Right now, he was dressed in a ragged robe, and a small sword was strapped to his waist. When Roland and Brandon saw that Rowan was okay, they let out a collective sigh of relief. "Young Lord, sorry for barging in without knocking. We were in a hurry to ensure you were safe and forgot to inform you of our entrance." "I sincerely apologize," Roland quickly said. Rowan nodded. He wasn't really concerned about their abrupt entrance. He had already expected the soldiers to storm his hut before heading towards the source of the distress to keep him safe. At this moment, he was more concerned about the source of this commotion. Without wasting time, he sought answers from both of them. "We don't know what is happening yet, young lord, but 2 of our captains and their soldiers are headed in that direction to protect the villagers. I also sent 2 of my men to watch out and report to me immediately." Roland responded promptly. "We should head there as well. Who knows if it's an ambush by those pathetic Glenwood soldiers?" Rowan suggested, and without waiting for their response, he began heading outside. "Young lord, it doesn't look good out there. You should stay indoors. We don't want anything happening to you," Roland said, rushing towards Rowan to stop him. "Roland is right. If they capture you, it will be the end of our village. But if you are alive, our village will have hope of revival," Brandon added. As Roland and Brandon tried to stop Rowan from leaving, 2 young soldiers arrived in front of the hut, panting heavily from running. Roland recognized the 2 soldiers as part of his squad, sent with the others to scout for danger and report back. Stepping outside, he asked, "What is the report?" "Greetings, young lord." "Greetings, Capta." The 2 young men began, bowing and greeting Rowan with respect. "Spare the formalities and get on with the report," Rowan said impatiently, prompting them to speak faster. The young men nodded and began their report, starting with the almost unimportant details of their journey and how they got the information. It turned out they hadn't reached the location of the chaos before discovering the cause from escaping villagers. No wonder they arrived so early. Goblins! When Rowan heard the source of the commotion, he couldn't help but yell in shock. "Yes, my lord, there is only a small group of them, but they are very strong. We fear there is a bigger group ready to strike soon," the young men said with shaky voices. "This is very bad. We haven't made enough preparations against those vile little creatures. How are we going to survive this?" Brandon panicked. Just by his tone, one could tell how terrified he was of goblins. Even Roland, a fearless soldier, had a worried look on his face as he observed Rowan, waiting for his response to the situation. As for Rowan, he was deep in his thoughts, recalling past events on Earth. Back then, goblins were one heck of a monster for an FF-rank territory to handle. In fact, they were nicknamed the Doomsday of FF-rank territories by gamers. Even some F-rank territory lords would find it difficult to handle them. Goblins are crafty little creatures with strength equivalent to a full-grown adult man. To be precise, one of them could craftily take down someone as huge and strong as Roland. They are even more hazardous when they are in a group. Unfortunately and fortunately, Rowan didn't get to face this monster as an FF rank lord in the game because his territory was way stronger than that when he started gaming. Even his weakest soldier back then could single-handedly take down a group of 50 goblins. However, now that he was an FF rank lord, he couldn't help but imagine the destruction those vile creatures would bring to his territory. That won't happen on my watch. Those ugly little bastards will regret attacking my territory today. Rowan thought. We are going there immediately, he declared with a stern voice. Brandon and Roland exchanged worried looks. They were aware of the immense danger ahead and didn't want their beloved village head to get involved. However, seeing how determined he was, they couldn't help but let him be while rushing behind him. As Rowan made his way towards the south where the chaos was taking place, he saw many villagers running in his direction. He saw women running with their babies, teenagers trying to rescue their crushes and escape with them, the elderly moving as fast as they could. Everyone was escaping. With this amount of disorderliness, he would end up losing more followers to other territories than to the goblins. Roland, organize your men and station them at the north border to prevent anyone from leaving or entering the village. I will accompany the other captains to take care of the danger in the south, while you ensure the escapees are... It was the dark of the night, and havoc grew in Winter Seed Village, beginning from a simple scream of fear and instantly transforming into a chaotic scene as everyone ran for their lives. The moon hung in the sky, illuminating the village with its crescent glow, providing enough light for the soldiers to fight and for the villagers to escape. Under the calm moonlight, Rowan, Brandon, and two young soldiers could be seen hurrying towards the battlefield. Fucking hell. This is not good at all. Those bastards have succeeded in turning my village upside down. Rowan cursed inwardly as he gazed upon the destroyed mold houses. On his right, the roof of a mold house was on fire, and on his left, several collapsed mound houses lay in ruins. Seeing this amount of destruction, Rowan understood that they were getting closer to the battlefield. After a few minutes, the sound of weapons clashing reached their ears. A few steps more, and Rowan found himself facing a chaotic battle. Rowan's breath caught as he took in the chaotic scene before him. He could see his soldiers dressed in their torn, dirty clothes, fighting desperately. Their faces were streaked with sweat and dirt as they fought with all their strength. Despite their tiredness, they kept swinging their weapons, driven by sheer will. Battling against them were goblins, ugly, green-skinned creatures with sharp, yellow teeth. Their red eyes glowed with cruel joy as they grinned and laughed. Some wore rough armor made from animal hides, while others were nearly naked, with only leaves covering their lower halves. The goblins held crude weapons, wooden clubs, spears with crude metal tips, and jagged pieces of metal they used as swords. Even though their weapons were rough, with their naturally evolved strength, they were difficult to fight against. With their short size of about 4 feet 4 inches and large numbers, it became difficult for the soldiers who were trained to fight humans to battle against them. Rowan evaluated the battlefield for a few seconds before charging in with a grim look on his face. Lord Rowan, you can't go into the battlefield. Brandon chased after him, trying to hold him back. Brandon didn't have any special fighting skills, so he was helpless and useless on a battlefield like this, especially against crafty goblins. While Brandon had no impressive skills of his own, he knew Rowan was the same. Rowan never had any proper battle practice before now. Even the sword moves he taught the soldiers were moves he said he learned from his father just by watching. How could he then battle against goblins? Rowan didn't heed Brandon's calls as he was dead set on slaughtering these vile creatures that came to disturb his peaceful sleep. Rowan's eyes scanned the battlefield, quickly landing on a badly injured soldier trying to crawl his way out of the fight for safety. The soldier had a small sword in his hands. As Rowan had no weapon of his own, he made a quick sprint for the soldier. "Young lord." The soldier was shocked to see Rowan appear before him. "You did a good job. I will make use of your weapon for now." Rowan flashed him a quick smile and spoke a few words of encouragement before grabbing his sword. "Your soldier is touched and honored by your words. Your soldier is on the verge of tears." Rowan disregarded the message and dashed toward the battlefield. Thanks to the moonlight, he was able to see clearly in the dark, and also, thanks to the short size and distinctive skin color of the goblins, he would be able to avoid injuring his own soldiers. Goblin, health, 89%. Special skill, night vision, copy? Yes, no. Status, happy. Rowan set his eyes on his first goblin. It was fighting against a soldier, laughing happily as it craftily inflicted numerous injuries with its crooked spear. I can even copy skills from monsters? Incredible. Lord Rowan, the soldier, just like the others, was shocked when he saw Rowan charging towards him. "Let go of this one. I will take care of it. Go and assist the others." "Yes, Lord Rowan." The injured soldier stepped back, causing the goblin to tilt its ugly face towards Rowan with a grin. It was glad that Rowan was uninjured and would like to change that. Hee. Laughing maniacally, the goblin sprinted toward Rowan, who was just 6 feet away from it. Rowan smirked, seeing the goblin charging with no caution. It had already taken Rowan as one of the weak soldiers, which instantly became an advantage for him. Wasting no time, he activated his offense. Sword Grandmaster activated on weapon. Attack power and efficiency have increased by 300%. Rowan could feel the short sword in his hand buzzing with invisible energy. The goblin was already close to Rowan and was stabbing its crooked spear toward his chest when Rowan's hands moved swiftly, deflecting the attack with ease. The goblin was shocked that Rowan blocked its attack so easily. It took 2 swift steps backward and observed Rowan with questioning eyes before laughing maniacally and attacking again, this time swinging the spear with all its strength. Rowan blocked quickly and immediately used his free hand to grab the wooden handle of the spear, completely disorienting his opponent. While grabbing the spear, he rendered the goblin immobile for a short second, but that short second was all it took to slash its neck, decapitating it. With a thud, the headless body of the goblin fell to the ground, and its head rolled toward it as a pool of blood began to form beneath it. Beside the corpse of the goblin, Rowan noticed a small, glowing piece of metal. It was blinking as if to draw Rowan's attention toward it. You slayed X1 goblin plus 20 evolution points, plus 1 chunk of crude iron. 100x reward activated. You have received 2,000 evolution points, 100 chunks of crude iron. You've received your first item in unlocked inventory. Inventory, stage 1, store all items here. Available slot, 1/10. You can now access inventory from your character status. After the goblin's death, Rowan witnessed a shocking scene unfold beside its corpse. First, a small metal piece, about the size of a baby's fist, suddenly appeared. Then, within seconds, the metal piece multiplied 100-fold, forming a small mountain of metal beside the goblin's lifeless body. Almost simultaneously, several prompts appear before him. You slayed X1 goblin plus 20 evolution points, plus 1 chunk of crude iron. 100x reward activated. You have received 2,000 evolution points, 100 chunks of crude iron. You've received your first item in unlocked inventory. Inventory, stage 1, store all items here. Slot, 0/10. You can now access inventory from your character status. This is incredible. 100 chunks of crude iron from just 1 goblin? This feels like a cheat code. If players back on Earth heard about this, they'd be so jealous they might hang themselves. Rowan thought with excitement. But his jubilation was short-lived. The battle was still raging. He stretched his hand over the mountain of crude iron and muttered, "Store." As he spoke, a dim glow enveloped the crude iron, and the next second, it vanished. X-100 crude iron stored in inventory. Rowan turned back to the battlefield. His soldiers were beyond exhausted after battling the goblins for more than 30 minutes. Surviving that long against these vile creatures was a miracle, given the ghastly injuries many had already sustained. Hungry for evolution points and more crude iron, Rowan stepped onto the battlefield and began slaughtering every goblin in his path. Standing at a distance, Brandon watched in shock as Rowan dominated the battle, his mouth agape. How could this be? Brandon had known Rowan since he was an infant and had watched him grow into the man he was today. But never had he seen Rowan lift a weapon, not even a kitchen knife. And yet here he was, dominating the battlefield like a seasoned sword emperor who had fought countless battles. He couldn't help but wonder what had happened. Since Rowan recovered from his illness, he had become invincible. He was now exceptionally intelligent, even outsmarting his own father, who was considered a great lord. His decisions left everyone in awe of his newfound wisdom. Not just Brandon, but the soldiers were also puzzled by how extraordinary their lord had become. They watched him fight, each swing of his sword making them wonder if their young lord had suddenly gained the memories of a 1,000-year-old sword emperor. While they were in awe of this fantastic moment, Riella came dashing towards them, her beautiful face filled with worry and remorse. Tears gathered in her eyes, threatening to fall at any moment. As she approached, she couldn't help but notice the heated battle between humans and goblins, the same goblins that had taken the life of her beloved father. Their ugly faces reminded her of the day her father's mutilated corpse was returned from the border, his body barely recognizable after being brutalized by those vile creatures. It was a day she could never forget, the day she lost her only family and gained a new one in Rowan. But on this chaotic night, she feared she might lose yet another family to the same monsters. "Rowan," she called out in panic, her voice quickly catching Brandon's attention. Brandon and the injured soldiers beside him turned toward Riella, concern etched on their faces. It was not a good idea for a woman to approach a battlefield filled with goblins. "Riella, what are you doing here? You should be at the north side with the other villagers." Brandon hurried towards her, trying to caution her. But Riella was too worried about Rowan to heed his warning. "Where is Rowan? I went to his place and was told he's here. Why did you let him come? Have you forgotten that he's not ready yet? Do you want him dead?" She vented her frustration and anger at Brandon, unable to believe that someone as wise as him would allow Rowan to take such a risky move. Brandon, knowing how close she was to Rowan, quickly understood her worries as he too was concerned from the start and even tried to stop Rowan from joining the battle. But now, he decided to reprimand her for coming to the battlefield. "I understand how much you care for Lord Rowan, but you need to care for yourself as well. Goblins are not creatures women should get close to, especially young, beautiful women like yourself," Brandon went on, reminding her of the horrific past where women have been kidnapped by goblins and are until they lost their sanity and became nothing but useless vessels of their past selves. Riella listened, but her eyes were scanning the battlefield, searching desperately for Rowan. Her heart pounded, refusing to rest until she saw that Rowan was alive and well. As she scanned the area, her eyes locked onto a figure moving skillfully across the chaos, swinging his sword at every goblin he encountered, cutting them down with a single, clean slash. The darkness made it hard to recognize him at first, but she could see his blade gleaming, dancing harmonically in the night, obliterating his opponents with ease. After about 10 seconds of desperate observation, she finally recognized him. "Is that Rowan?" she asked, interrupting Brandon's ongoing fatherly advice. "What? She wasn't even listening to me," he thought. "Yes, that's Rowan. See, you had nothing to worry about," Brandon replied. "The young lord is impressive. There was no need for you to worry. You should leave now before those vile creatures set their eyes on you and try to capture you." He tried his best to make Riella listen to his words, but it was futile. Her eyes were glued to Rowan. "Your soldiers are motivated by your valiant actions. Your followers are astonished. Your followers wonder if you are another person. One of your followers wishes that you get stabbed in the heart and die. Meanwhile, as Rowan fought, incessant messages from the system kept popping up every second. He ignored them all until his eyes landed on one. WEF. Someone wants me dead in this battle? Who could that be? After about 2 hours, the battle between Winterseed and the goblins finally ended with Winterseed miraculously emerging victorious. It was past midnight. The moon still hung in the sky, casting its dim crescent glow over the village. The soldiers of Winterseed could be seen leaping across the battlefield, laughing and celebrating the war they had just won. They lifted their weapons high in the air and danced around the corpses of the goblins, their shoulders linked together in shared triumph. Some soldiers circled around Rowan, who stood in the middle of the battlefield with a calm, triumphant smile on his face, praising and thanking him for rescuing them from the tight clutches of death. Though exhausted from the long fight, it didn't stop them from celebrating. It was a joyous moment. Rowan stood in their midst with a triumphant smile, but that smile wasn't from the war he had just won, but from the windows popping in front of him, carrying messages of his rewards. Your territory has successfully eradicated small group of goblins. Your rewards have arrived. You have unlocked a new reward. Mystery cards. Mystery card. Special reward granted at the end of important achievements. Each card contains random rewards ranging from evolution points to special ability. You have received X1 basic grade mystery card. 100X reward activated. 100 basic grade mystery cards. Ding! Mystery cards have been stored in inventory. Seeing the rewards, the smile on Rowan's face broadened. In his previous life, he had only been able to obtain less than 10 mystery cards throughout his gaming journey, and most of them were basic grade ones, which are the lowest grade of mystery cards. Nevertheless, the rewards in those mystery cards, despite its low grade, became an important asset in his kingdom-building journey in Emperor's Domain. Aside from the lowest basic grade, there are common, uncommon, rare, epic, legendary, and the highest grade divine. A single legendary grade mystery card could boost an FF rank lord into a C rank lord in less than a week with the reward stored in it, and the same applies to territory. As for divine grade mystery cards, they would boost the same lord into S rank in the same amount of time, maybe even shorter. Just thinking about what he might obtain from the basic ones he got was already filling him with a lot of thrills that he couldn't help but reveal a crazed grin. Sadly, he could not take them out now. He needed to be alone before he could check them out. One of your followers wishes you death. One of your followers feels disgusted at your grin. This should be the same person who wished me death earlier during the heat of the battle. This person is nearby, judging that he can see me grin right now. But who the heck is this person? Rowan looked around him, observing the faces of the soldiers, but he could not find anyone who stood out among the other soldiers. All of them looked equally happy and danced around, jubilating. He even went as far as using his eyes of revelation to check the status of all the soldiers on site, but they all had the happy status. Could this person be a mole sent by another village, or someone who simply loathes my existence? Rowan wondered. At that moment, Brandon and a worried Riella approached Rowan. Rowan! Riella's voice trembled as she called out to him. She rushed to him, wrapping her arms around him tightly. Do you have any idea how terrified I was? You shouldn't have left the house, not with those goblins swarming the village. What if something had happened to you? Her voice wavered, betraying the fear and worry she had held back during the battle. Rowan smiled and accepted her hug with gratitude. He was very happy that someone cared for him this much, especially someone from the opposite gender. In his previous life, Rowan had a lot of intimate activities with beautiful ladies, even famous celebrities, but never built a relationship with any of them. Thus, he was pretty new to having someone care this much about him, and he couldn't deny that he cherished it so much. Some of the soldiers stopped and watched the interaction between Rowan and Riella with smiles on their faces. Most of them already knew about the close relationship between the two of them when they were young. They already expected both of them to marry when they were old enough, and now seemed to be the perfect time. They whispered among themselves, wishing their young lord a merry relationship. Your soldiers wish that you have a good time tonight. Your soldiers pray for unlimited stamina while doing it. Your soldiers agree in their minds that she is a worthy candidate. Rowan raised an eyebrow. These fuckers. How dare they doubt my stamina? He separated from Riella and gazed upon the faces of the soldiers, each of them having a proud smile on their faces, gazing at him. Even Brandon nodded at him, approving his relationship soundlessly. Rowan sighed. They weren't wrong. A good lord deserves a good wife, good wives. He took an extra gaze around and finally announced, "You were all incredible today," Rowan said, his voice strong yet warm. "We fought as one. And because of that, we sent those goblins back to the hell they crawled out of. You've saved our village. I couldn't be prouder of each and every one of you. Thank you, Lord Rowan. May your reign be long and fruitful." Everyone responded in a loud voice. Amen to that. We should get back to our homes and have a good night's rest. For those of you whose homes were destroyed by those vile creatures, do not worry. I will build you a better and stronger house soon. One where you will be able to sleep without any fear of someone breaking in. You are the best, Lord Rowan. Those whose homes were destroyed became really excited and looked forward to their new homes. The soldiers were dismissed after a brief discussion. Everyone returned to their various homes. Rowan, Brandon, and Riella were escorted to the north side to meet the other villages to inform them of the victory. After a few hours, Winterseed Village finally returned to its peaceful self. Since all the soldiers were beyond exhausted, no one guarded the borders. No one was afraid, though. They had already faced a bigger danger, and the odds of something else happening were very low. After everyone left for their various homes, Rowan escorted Riella to her quarters, which were just beside his own hut. Even with the memory of this world's Rowan, he hadn't realized that they lived so close to each other. This was mainly because neither of them had much free time and were rarely home, except at night. And even at night, Rowan was always busy. After ensuring Riella was safely indoors, Rowan returned to his room, eager to see what the mystery cards held for him. Once inside his hut, he locked the door and strolled happily to his bed. Open inventory. Inventory. Available spots 8 out of 10. Crude iron X 900. Basic grade mystery card X 100. I can't believe I have this much crude iron from just one small battle. It would have taken ages to obtain this much on Earth. Unfortunately, I have no blueprint available yet. Otherwise, these would have been extremely useful. Rowan let out a short sigh. He had no crafting knowledge, and his territory lacked professionals in the crafting aspect. If he did, with this much raw material, he would have been able to create bulk quantities of useful equipment. I hope I get some blueprints from these mystery cards, he thought. Without hesitating, he went with what was important at this moment. Open mystery cards. Ding. You have a large number of mystery cards. You can open max, 20 at a time. Continue. Yes/no. Rowan would have loved to open the mystery cards one at a time, but it requires patience and time, two resources he simply didn't have right now. Thus, without a single hesitation, he agreed. A window appeared before his eyes, featuring 20 shiny bronze rectangular cards. The 20 cards flipped, and their contents were revealed in a separate window, making it easier and more efficient. Opening X20 mystery cards. Revealing content. X11 basic grade swords. X3 basic grade spears. X1 skill book. 30,000 evolution points have been added to your status. The rewards displayed before Rowan. The weapons and the skill book floated midair with a dim glow wrapped around them, making them look like something out of a virtual reality game. Seeing the contents, Rowan wasn't that ecstatic. Except for the skill book and the evolution points, the other rewards weren't that impressive, but it was still better than the content he would have gotten if he did not possess 100x rewards. Firstly, he observed the stats of the weapons with Eye of Revelation, and they weren't that bad, but they weren't that good either. Just normal weapons with a minor 10% boost in attack powers. It wasn't that impressive. Using such weapons would only be advantageous against same-level opponents when the wielder possessed superior technique or greater powers. Rowan simply stored the weapons in his inventory. As for the skill book, Rowan tried to view its stat, but it was impossible. For unknown reasons, Eyes of Revelation refused to activate on it. Perhaps the content remains a mystery until I open it. With no other option, he grabbed the skill book from midair, and the glow surrounding it immediately vanished. The book was slim and had a shiny back. Rowan couldn't help but wonder how skill books functioned in reality, since in the game, they only needed a simple key click to reveal their book's content. Skill book grants a random skill. Once learned, the book becomes blank and useless. Note, if the skill is unlearned, the book can be transferred to a follower for manual learning. This is new. In the game, it was impossible to share a skill book with followers. But system, would I automatically learn the skill after opening the book like in the game? Because I don't want to risk learning it and having to teach them myself, Rowan asked. He waited, but there was no response from the system, so he decided to just open the book and see what would happen. If he auto-learned the skill, he could easily transfer it to his followers, but it would take time. As Rowan opened the skill book, a bright light flashed, making him squint. The light was so intense that he had to shield his eyes. The air around him buzzed with energy, and it felt like something Rowan had never felt before. It was exhilarating. After a few seconds, the blinding light vanished, and glowing texts appeared on the only page of the book. Threadmaster Apprentice Training increases the efficiency and effectiveness of training new tailors by 300%. This skill is unranked and can't be upgraded. Learn skill? Yes/no. A skill for tailors. Not bad. I already have someone in mind to give this to, Rowan thought. In this village, there are fewer than 10 people who are experts when it comes to sewing, and Riella is one of them. In fact, she possesses the best sewing skills. With a skill like this, Riella would be able to raise new tailors from the interested villagers, and when the village gets a proper supply of clothing materials, those tailors would play a good role in making more clothes in a shorter time. As clothing is one of the main issues of the village, Rowan could not help but be happy with the new skill. Thankfully, he did not automatically learn the skill, as he suspected. He just has to store the book for now and pass it to Riella the next time he sees her. After the first set of mystery cards, Rowan became even more impatient to reveal the content of the other mystery cards. Opening X20 mystery cards, revealing content. X18 basic grade swords. X1 beast egg. A beast egg. Rowan jumped up with excitement in his eyes. Finally, something that interests him has appeared. Beast eggs. Rowan's voice trembled with excitement as he leaped to his feet, his eyes locking onto the egg that hovered in the air before him. This was the moment he had longed for, his first step into the world of beast taming. As someone with a powerful beast taming skill, receiving a beast egg was an invaluable experience. And as someone who had never tried beast taming before, Rowan's joy was even greater. Without wasting time, he reached for the egg, his face alight with excitement. He couldn't wait to see what kind of beast it held and what special power it might possess. The beast egg was about the size of a baby's head, and Rowan had to use both hands to hold it carefully. Dropping it would render it useless. As Rowan observed the egg, information about it quickly appeared before him. Beast egg contains random magical beast. Time to hatch, 72 hours. Seeing the lengthy hatch time, Rowan wasn't bothered and immediately activated his beast taming skill on it. Ding! Your SS rank beast taming skill has activated. The hatching period has been reduced. New time to hatch, 30 seconds. The next 30 seconds felt like an eternity as Rowan watched the egg. What kind of creature would emerge? Would it be strong? What abilities would it have? His mind raced with possibilities. A faint crackling sound suddenly broke the silence, and a small crack appeared on the egg's surface. The crack spread, snaking across the shell. Rowan leaned in, his heart pounding with anticipation. Tiny pieces of the shell began to fall away, revealing a soft glow inside. The light grew brighter as more of the egg broke apart. Finally, with a sharp crack, the top of the egg split open, and a small creature began to emerge, still partially hidden in the glowing light. Rowan watched with excitement, eager to meet his new companion. The newly hatched creature hovered in the air, its small, gray body perfectly smooth and unblemished. Its skin was soft, almost velvety, with tiny patches of fur starting to appear along its back and limbs. It observed Rowan with a gaze filled with innocent curiosity and a hint of playful mischief. From its appearance, it was easy to tell it was male. Ding! Beast egg hatched successfully, revealing details. Nickname: not applicable. Race: Ashfire Wolf. Foundation realm: low stage. Unlocked skills: Fireball, LV1. Can shoot a fist-sized fireball with a cooldown time of 3 hours. You've tamed your first divine beast. You've unlocked Divine Beast Plane. Beast Plane, a pocket dimension with suitable conditions and adequate energy for all divine beasts. Ashfire Wolf. These beasts were incredibly popular in the game. They started out weak, but became extremely powerful as they grew stronger and older. I can't believe I got this from a basic mystery card. Rowan rejoiced. It took a lot of self-control to keep himself from screaming in excitement. A skill book and a beast egg after opening 40 mystery cards was not bad at all. If 40 had these two, then the last 60 must contain something even more precious, like blueprints, he thought, glancing at his new pet. The Ashfire puppy was still looking at Rowan with its big, adorable eyes. The curiosity in its gaze remained, but there was a hint of annoyance, as if it was disappointed in Rowan for leaving it hanging for so long. "Come here, little one," Rowan said softly, reaching out a hand toward the creature with a gentle smile. "Blaze, that's what I'll call you," Rowan continued, his voice filled with determination. "You're going to grow strong, and we'll see what kind of magic you can really wield." Ding! Nickname Blaze confirmed. Rowan ignored the system message, staring at the puppy in his possession with a calm smile. At this moment, he felt like a father whose wife had just given birth. As for little Blaze, the annoyance in its gaze intensified with each passing second. Your pet is furious. Your pet is hungry. Your pet wonders what sort of father you are. Your pet asks, "Do you want me to die of hunger?" Rowan could only stare at these prompts with a blank expression as he realized a major problem. What would he feed his pet? While Rowan experienced a whirlwind of emotions opening his mystery cards, something different was unfolding in Glenwood. It was late at night, and the moon still hung in the sky. Inside a spacious, luxurious bedroom with intricate details adorning the walls and a large bed, the very fat Lord Fagin lay sprawled, his large figure nearly covering the bed as he twisted his body in ways that seemed impossible. His annoyingly loud snores echoed through the room. Standing beside his bed were two beautiful women, their dark gazes fixed on his sleeping form as their minds wandered, contemplating their next actions. Both women were striking, with long, luscious black hair and faces that accentuated their maturity. One looked older, seemingly in her early 30s, while the younger one appeared to be in her early 20s. The older woman was Alara, and the younger was Liera. Alara and Liera were the same women who had been taken from Winterseed because of their beauty and brought to Glenwood to serve its perverted lord. They were also present when Wara and his men reported to Lord Fagin about their visit to Winterseed. After spending over 2 years in this hellish place, both women began to long for home. But escape seemed almost impossible. They were weak and would likely be tortured if caught trying to flee. Nevertheless, they never lost hope, believing their lord would come and save them. But this hope was shattered when they received the report. So tonight, they decided to take fate into their own hands. Standing on the right side of the bed, Alara clutched a small knife in her hands. One didn't need to think twice to guess what she was about to do. Standing opposite her, Liera looked terrified and worried. "Alara, are we really going to do this?" she asked, her voice trembling as she glanced nervously at the door. "I can't take it anymore. I've waited long enough," Alara muttered, her grip tightening on the knife. "I can't sit by and hope anymore, Liera. We have to take matters into our own hands." Hearing her reply, Liera felt helpless. She was afraid of getting in trouble with these people. She wanted nothing more than to kill this fat bastard after all he had done to her, but she knew it was impossible to do so and get away with it. As for Alara, She had already made up her mind. She lifted the knife above Lord Fagin's body, ready to stab him. Her heart pounded in her chest, a part of her still hoping for another way. But that hope had long been extinguished. There was no one coming to save them. Sadly, before she could get her revenge, the door creaked open and 2 guards walked in. Hearing the creaking sound, Alara swiftly hid the knife beneath her dress, while Liera shivered in fear, even though she wasn't the one holding the knife. The guards looked at both of them with suspicious gazes. "What are you two still doing here?" they asked in low voices, trying not to wake their sleeping lord. "Lord Fagin asked us to stay beside him while he rested. If you want, we could leave now," Alara quickly replied. The guards continued to eye them suspiciously before moving toward the bed to wake Lord Fagin. Alara quickly signaled Liera, and both women swiftly left the room before Lord Fagin could awaken. After a series of calls and soft taps from the guards, Lord Fagin finally rose, his furious eyes glaring at them. "Sorry for waking you, Lord Fagin, but the spy from Winterseed is here," the guards quickly explained. "Was that why you had to wake me up? Can't you listen to his report and pass it on to me when I awake?" Lord Fagin grumbled, a deep frown on his face. "We did as you said, my lord, but he refused. He claims he has very important, juicy information that he must deliver directly to you." Lord Fagin's eyes narrowed as he sat up, his annoyance replaced by cold curiosity. "Juicy information? Huh? This better be worth my time." His voice was a low growl as he motioned for the guards to bring the informant in, his mind already racing with different possibilities. Rowan, oblivious to the plot building up against him in Glenwood Village, continued staring at Blaze with a blank expression on his face while Blaze stared back with anger evident in his face. "So what kind of food should I feed you with?" Rowan asked curiously, as he really had no idea what he was going to feed his pet with. As if understanding his question, Blaze's furious gaze became even more intense. It let out a soft but furious growl and then lunged at Rowan's hand, trying to bite him, but its small teeth barely touched Rowan's skin. Rowan held Blaze up and just stared at it while it flailed in the air, squeaking and swiping its little claws, trying hard to reach him but failing. "Calm down, little guy. I'll get something for you to eat very soon. All right? Your Popsy is very poor right now, but you should be happy I still took you in and did not throw you away like some scumbag dads." Despite Rowan's words, Blaze continued to swipe its little claws in the air angrily. At this moment, Rowan realized he would go through a whole lot of drama with Blaze, and he was ready for it. After a few minutes of flailing and fussing, Blaze finally settled down, reluctantly allowing Rowan to cradle in his arms, but it was still very annoyed. In truth, it wasn't really that hungry. After hatching, all divine beasts receive a sustainable amount of nutrition that sustains them for a really long time before they can fend for themselves, especially the flesh-eating divine beasts. Blaze was simply acting too much. Rowan patted Blaze's head, but instead of getting a calm and lovable reaction, he almost got his fingers bitten by his mischievous, toothless pet. He could only nod his head and proceed with opening his mystery cards, hoping to get a better reward. Opening X20 mystery cards. Revealing content. X20 basic grade swords. Seeing this one made Rowan frown as he didn't get any sort of special rewards like the first two. He wondered if the rest would be like this. Opening X20 mystery cards. Revealing content. X5 basic grade swords. X5 basic grade spears. 100,000 evolution points have been added to your status. Damn it. Rowan cussed it out inaudibly. At this point, he began to lose hope that the next and final round of mystery cards would contain anything useful. What he needed the most at this moment are blueprints, so he would be able to use the crude irons in his possession. Rowan would also appreciate some sort of fertilizers, or maybe raw material for clothing, but that is very unlikely to come out of basic grade mystery card. Before opening the final round, he prayed in his heart to whosoever controls his luck to bless him with good luck. "Reveal the last set," he commanded and watched with hopeful eyes as the rewards were revealed before him. Opening X20 mystery cards. Revealing content. X5 basic grade food pills. X7 basic grade swords. 80,000 evolution points have been added to your status. Seeing the rewards, his expression dampened as there was no blueprint among it. He was really hoping to get one. However, on a second thought, these rewards were actually good, especially the glowing green pills hovering in the air ahead of him. Even Blaze looked especially excited as he saw the green pills floating in the air. His eyes widened greedily, and a single line of drool slid down from its mouth. Food pill, basic grade, a very good nutrition for divine beasts. When eaten, it prevents hunger for 24 hours. 24 hours per pill wasn't that bad. With this time and the amount of pill Rowan has, he wouldn't have to worry about feeding Blaze for at least 5 days. Coincidentally, those 5 days were all he had to prepare before the next arrival of the Glenwood soldiers. It felt as though the cards had reserved these rewards just for him. Growl. Blaze started growling hungrily at the sight of the food pill. Rowan, noticing its reaction, had no choice but to feed it one. He took one of the food pills, saving the others along with the swords in his inventory. He tossed the pill into the air, and Blaze quickly leapt from his arms to catch it midair, landing softly on the bed. It began devouring the pill almost immediately, an ecstatic look on its face. After finishing the pill, Blaze lay on the bed, twisting its body as if asking Rowan to pick it up. When Rowan saw this, he couldn't help but feel a strong urge to starve his mischievous pet. Earlier, it had protested when he tried to carry it, but now that it was full, it wanted him to pick it up. Blaze kept rolling on the bed and even let out soft and cute growls, trying even harder to make Rowan pick it up. Rowan scoffed and opened the divine beast plane. A blue-colored swirling portal suddenly appeared beneath Blaze. Before Blaze could even protest, it was swallowed by the portal and was transferred into the divine beast plane. Through the sensory link, Rowan could see the beast plane through Blaze's eyes. It was breathtakingly beautiful, a vast expanse of nature that seemed untouched by time. It was a very vast and beautiful natural habitat, with tall trees and beautiful carpet grasses that crawled on the surface. From Blaze's vision, Rowan could see a big river flowing and a tall mountain far away. If Rowan should approximate the size of this place based on what he has seen, this place should be as big as the smallest continent on Earth. As Rowan was observing through Blaze, he noticed that Blaze had already gotten used to the new place and was jumping around happily. Wasting no time, he called off the sensory link and proceeded to have a nice rest. This night has been the busiest since he transmigrated. There would be other harsher nights, but he was sure he would be strong enough by then. It is a new morning, and the villagers are happily returning to their various farmlands with pride and happiness. After hearing how their young lord defended them last night from the hands of goblins, their hope of getting their village revived to its peak increased, and they were all ready to work towards it. On a random street in Winterseed, a large group of villagers could be seen marching towards their farmlands with happy smiles on their faces as they discussed. Who could have thought that our young lord would be blessed with immense sword knowledge after resurrecting? A man said to his colleagues with a proud smile. He is one of the soldiers whom Rowan rescued yesterday. Ha! Our village is blessed. Before, my hope that we would be freed from Glenwood slavery was low, but now my hopes are high. I believe Lord Rowan will make Winterseed a big name again, his colleague replied. Today, I will train very hard to comprehend that sword technique he is currently teaching us and make sure to impress him. The young soldier clenched his fist and said with determination. But did you hear the discussions by the captains last night? One suddenly asked. Oh, what is it? You know, I wasn't around the captains too much, the other replied with a curious expression. Yeah, I knew that. You were away guarding the villagers, and when you were away, the captains had a brief discussion. They believe a larger group of goblins will attack very soon, and there's a 50-50 chance a hobgoblin will be leading them. Hobgoblin. Yes, that's what they said. But the chances are low. They might not come with a larger group, but we should still prepare for the worst. This was the discussion of two young soldiers who escorted the villagers to their farmlands. Among the large group approaching the farm, there were others who discussed different topics. especially how Rowan told them he would build their houses very soon, and the fact that their village would soon have a big war against Glenwood. Following these discussions from the villagers, a lot of windows popped up in front of Rowan, summarizing their conversations and also informing him about certain important details. One of your followers prays continuously for your downfall. One of your followers voices out his hate for you. At this point, Rowan was already used to this specific message popping up every now and then, making him wonder who the hell hates him this much and why he hasn't been able to find them. However, he was very happy to receive these kind of messages. If not, he would have fallen into a big trap in the upcoming war. Taking his attention off the system, Rowan's eyes fell on the door, which creaked open at that moment as Riella's pretty figure walked in, holding a tray of food. A beautiful smile appeared on her face when her eyes met Rowan's. "Good morning, Rowan. I brought you something to eat." Riella greeted with a cheerful and angelic voice as she strolled towards Rowan, who was standing beside his bed. Rowan couldn't help but smile. It was very early in the morning, and she was already bringing him food, which could only mean that she had woken up very early to prepare it. He was very grateful for that. He watched as Riella squatted innocently and placed the tray of food on the small stool beside his bed. However, her figure was too wicked to do something innocent without triggering a reaction from Rowan. As she squatted, her soft clothes hugged tightly against her figure, accentuating her curves. Seeing this, Rowan couldn't resist the urge to spank her. He lifted his right hand and gave her a light tap, causing a low spanking sound to spread across a small radius. Feeling the gentle tap on her behind, Riella's face turned red-hot as she flushed profusely. She stood up abruptly and stared at Rowan with a flustered expression, which made her really cute. "Thank you for waking up so early to prepare something for me to eat, Riella." Rowan smiled at her and thanked her, acting as though he hadn't just teased her behind. "Rowan," she let out in a low tone, her face still red as she wasn't used to being touched in such a manner, especially by Rowan, who she had a crush on. Seeing her flustered expression, Rowan continued to tease her verbally. "What, Riella? You know you're so pretty, and I couldn't contain myself anymore. We're both adults now, remember? Our urge to do it and procreate when we see those we love becomes higher and harder to resist." He spoke in a low and charming tone as he stepped closer to her. "When all this is over, I want you to be the first woman in my life and carry my babies," he continued. As he stepped closer to the flustered Riella, he pulled her in for a romantic hug, wrapping his hands around her waist and pressing her body against his. As he hugged her, he patted her hair lovingly as her head gently relaxed on his chest. "Remember when we were young, you promised to be the mother of my unborn kids? Now is the time to keep that promise." While patting her, he whispered in her ear, his whisper summoning an electrifying sensation within her. Unable to hold back any longer, Riella quickly pulled away from his embrace. Her slender hands reached for his head, drawing it down as she stretched her body to press a deep kiss against his lips. As Riella's lips met his, she closed her eyes, savoring the warmth and softness of the moment. Her heart raced as she poured all her unspoken feelings into the kiss, her body leaning into his as if drawn by an invisible force. For a brief second, Rowan was stunned by her sudden fierceness, his eyes wide with surprise. He hadn't expected her to act so boldly and initiate their first kiss. But his initial shock disappeared as he accepted her kiss and reciprocated it. Riella was new to kissing, and her kiss was somewhat amateurish, but Rowan preferred it that way. It was better for him to teach her than for her to already be experienced. Rowan's hands moved swiftly, one settling on her waist, the other gently cupping the back of her head, pulling her closer as he slowly dominated her mouth with his tongue. Both of them enjoyed a passionate kiss that lasted for more than a minute before Riella realized what she was doing and shyly pulled away. She was so deep into her feelings a minute ago that she didn't realize what she was doing until now. I can't believe I just did that," she exclaimed, her voice trembling as she tried to steady her breathing. Without waiting for Rowan to respond, she spun around on her heel, her feet moving on their own as she bolted towards the door. "I have to go. Rowan simply watched as her gracious figure bolted out of the room with a smile on his face. This is what I'm talking about. An innocent wife who doesn't even understand how to display her love and lust. The next time we meet in private, she might try to explain herself or explore that same feeling. I don't mind teaching her. She's my woman, after all. But then he realized something important. Fuck, I forgot to give her the skill book, he cussed loudly. He was too focused on his lust that he forgot the skill book. Well, he couldn't really blame himself. She was just too adorable. Letting out a sigh, he walked towards his bed to eat breakfast, but before he could sit back and eat, the door opened. Brandon and Roland walked in with questioning expressions on their faces. We saw Riella running out of here. Was there a problem? Roland asked curiously as he observed Rowan's lips and noticed the wetness. Rowan only smiled and replied, "No problem at all." But his response made the men even more suspicious. Your captain looks at you with suspicious eyes. Your assistant sarcastically thinks there's definitely a problem. The day went smoothly. Rowan started by accompanying Roland and Brandon to the southern border, which is the closest to the farms and where the goblins attacked last night. Their assumption was that the goblins would attack again, and they would pass through this side of the village since it is surrounded by vegetation, and beyond it, there is a very big forest that none of the villagers have dared to explore in the past few years. Rowan suggested that they venture into the forest, cut down trees, and use the timber to construct a strong fence around this area to prevent goblins from attacking again, and also to prevent Raytax from stealing their crops. Brandon was against the idea. According to him, going into the forest at this time would be a very bad decision as they might not survive. Rowan agreed, but he wasn't sure about his decision. In the end, Rowan made another decision to build a tall guardhouse around this area. They would station guards there at night to keep watch and inform them each time they spotted anything strange. Of course, this wouldn't just be on the south border, but on every major one. With this, the problem of the defenseless border was solved, but there were other bigger problems, including food, shelter, and mainly the suppression from Glenwood. While these problems were significant, Rowan didn't panic at all and decided to solve them gradually. Worrying and rushing to solve the problem would only result in costly mistakes that might require starting over. To prevent this, he decided to take it slow. Before Rowan left the farmlands, the farmers rushed toward him and complained about the water supply. It had badly affected their crops, with most of them dying due to the inadequate water supply, and some were experiencing slow growth. I'm already aware of this issue. Be patient with me. When we are done defeating Glenwood, we will take back control of the river, Rowan assured them. The farmers agreed, but they were still concerned about the high rate of low productivity in their crops. After leaving the farmlands, Rowan rushed to the village square, where the youth were already waiting for him, and began training them with Swordmaster. Sadly, he could only teach them the lowest level of the skill because it was impossible to impart such an advanced skill to these soldiers who were still FF rank in terms of power. Rowan was different from them. He could advance his skill without limit at any stage. Fortunately, this brought up a new and very important question for Rowan. How would he be able to help his soldiers evolve? Your soldiers would be able to evolve by cultivating special techniques that involve training their inner powers. Luckily, the system was there to answer him this time. And how do I obtain this special technique? He asked. 3 seconds passed, and there was no response from the system. He could only sigh. It seems he would have to figure that out himself. He turned to observe the soldiers, who were training with a lot of determination on their faces. Roland and the other 5 captains stood in front, practicing at a speed and with a determination that outmatched that of the other soldiers. The comprehension of the technique had improved drastically among the soldiers, especially among the captains. 2 captains had reached 50%, while Roland and 2 other captains were already at 60%. 2 days from now, they would be able to wield the skill and unlock its full potential. Then they would take on the role of teaching their soldiers. Rowan was very proud of their speed, though he knew it was mainly due to his display last night. The more he observed them training vigorously, the more impressed he was, and the more hopeful he became that they would win the war against Glenwood. But I fear that we have a mole in our midst, he thought to himself. Those series of hateful messages he got could only mean there is either a spy in their midst or someone who is after his position. He was not entirely sure about the first one, but he could not stake the survival of his village by neglecting that possibility. If there was a mole in their midst, the best solution would be to root them out. But since he couldn't figure out who that person was, he decided to implement a brilliant plan. It was now afternoon, and the heat of the sun intensified, making it very difficult for the soldiers to train. Roland and the captains kept training while rivers of sweat poured from their bodies. Despite the harsh weather conditions, their determination to protect the village intensified. They gritted their teeth and continued swinging their training swords, following a swift pattern. But this wasn't the same for the younger soldiers. They all swung their swords with weary expressions on their faces. Due to the harsh weather, some began to make a series of mistakes in the execution of the technique. "Time to rest, everyone," Rowan announced. Following his loud voice were sighs of relief and the sound of many young soldiers collapsing on the ground. Roland and the other captains simply stopped swinging their swords and took in large breaths. "Our beautiful women will arrive with lunch soon. While we wait for them, I want you all to gather around. We have to start preparing for the upcoming war," Rowan announced. The village square is large. At the center, there was a clear field for training, and on one side, there were lots of trees that serve as shade from the sun. The soldiers dragged their worn-out bodies towards that area and found suitable spots to sit. As they all made their way towards it, Rowan received the usual message. "One of your soldiers' hearts skipped a beat at your words. One of your soldiers grinned widely and awaits your strategy." Rowan observed as many soldiers as he could with his inspection skill, but none of them had anything that gave them away. "This person must be a master at cloaking their true emotions," he concluded after failing to catch the mole. After all the soldiers had gathered, Rowan opened up and revealed his battle strategy, including the time they would initiate their attack and the different formations they would use. His battle strategy was impressive, shocking even veterans like Roland. But their impression wasn't what Rowan was looking for. "One of your soldiers' hearts beats fast in joy hearing your strategy. The same soldier calls you foolish for revealing your battle strategy to them." Seeing this, Rowan realized that his suspicions were correct. This person is a spy, but a smile crept onto his face. He had only revealed the strategy for two good reasons. One was to understand the identity of this hater, and the other was to set a trap. Same day, outside Winterseed Village's territory, beyond the southern border where the farmland sits, a group of more than 100 young soldiers could be seen marching toward a vast forest several meters away from them. Each of the soldiers held a different cutting tool, from knives to axes, but the number of swords was higher since they didn't have many cutting tools in the village except for swords. In fact, most of the swords they held were the ones Rowan got from the mystery cards he opened last night. Rowan was riding a horse, leading them toward the forest that was almost a few minutes' walk away. He observed the forest with a calm expression on his face. The forest was very big and seemed to cover more than 200 square kilometers, about 10 times bigger than the whole of Winterseed Village combined. A lot of tall trees could be seen stretching toward the sky, and apart from the tall trees, there was other vast vegetation. Brandon, accompanied by two captains, walked beside Rowan. Brandon had a pretty gloomy look on his face, as he was very skeptical about the journey. After Rowan finished sharing the battle strategy with the soldiers, he was shocked to hear him suggest that they all venture into the dark forest to fell trees for timber. He tried talking Rowan and the group of young soldiers out of it, but they all ignored his words. Rowan was set on building the guardhouse as soon as he could, and the young soldiers were very curious to feel what it was like outside Winterseed, as they had been locked in the village their whole lives. When neither Rowan nor the soldiers listened, he tried talking to the two captains, but the two captains were dead set on protecting their village. When he told them it was risky, they responded with, "Would you rather we sit down and do nothing or build guardhouses to prevent the event of last night from repeating itself?" Hearing their question, Brandon realized there was no way to talk them out of it, so he relaxed. When they prepared to leave, he decided to accompany them. "I heard pest monsters like Raytax are very active in the forest. Do you think we would encounter one?" Not too far away from Brandon, two young soldiers began discussing excitedly. I hope we don't. They're very powerful. My grandfather said they are bigger and fiercer in comparison to goblins, the other replied. Damn. Well, I hope we don't face one. I wish to see what they look like. Yeah, me too. Who knows? Maybe we might face one. But there is no need to panic. Our capable Lord Rowan and captains would be able to defend us. Hearing their discussions, Brandon could not help but shake his head in disappointment. The adventurous minds of youths are really dangerous and foolish, he thought. It was still the late hours of the afternoon, and the intensity of the sun's heat had decreased by almost 60%, making the weather conditions more favorable to work. Rowan and his soldiers were now standing before the entrance of the forest, observing the vast vegetative species surrounding them. The calm sound of leaves dancing to the silent beat of the wind gently drifted across, and the singing of birds and other animals filled the forest with a sweet cacophony. So this is the South Forest everyone in the village is scared to visit. It doesn't look anything special or different from forests on Earth. Some of them on Earth look even scarier than this, Rowan thought. Looking at the forest, he realized there were more than enough trees to rebuild his village, but he lacked the equipment to take the trees down. Fortunately, they only needed to fell at least 7 trees to build 4 guardhouses, one on each border, so they wouldn't be needing much equipment. The number of soldiers available and the few pieces of equipment they brought with them were already more than enough to take care of it, though it would take a very long time. I wish I had some sort of crafting knowledge. I would have manufactured my own version of a saw machine, and obtaining timber would be very easy and less time-consuming, Rowan sighed. His zeal to obtain the crafting profession grew bigger in his mind. However, as Rowan made lots of new decisions and calculations beside him, Brandon gulped a mouthful of saliva nervously. It was evident on his face that he wasn't comfortable standing so close to the forest, as he appeared to recall some rather sad memories. All right, everyone, let's get ready. Our work starts here. We'll take down the big trees near the entrance first, and only move deeper once we're done with these. Which, of course, won't be anytime soon, Rowan stated. The soldiers nodded and began preparing their tools, ready to work. They all looked very ready to start swinging their swords against these trees. It would be a great way to test out the progress of their sword training and the amount of strength they could exert with their swords. Brandon looked at their smiles and was still shocked at how they could be this calm and happy about something so dangerous. None of them looked scared or worried despite the numerous scary tales they've heard about the South Forest and the monstrous calamities dwelling within it. As he was worrying, he failed to notice Rowan observing him. Brandon is still scared, but he has the right to be. If Raytax are said to be stronger than goblins, who even the captains couldn't defeat easily, then it was really not advisable to come to the South Forest, which is their permanent habitat, Rowan thought. He needed a way to safeguard his soldiers. Thankfully, he had one. Also, everyone, let me introduce you to the newest member of our village, Blaze. Saying that, Rowan mentally called out Blaze from the divine beast plane, where it was having the best time of its life jumping around, exploring the beautiful landscape. A portal quickly appeared, only lasting for a split second before disappearing and leaving Blaze in the arms of Rowan. Blaze relaxed in Rowan's arms and observed all the strange faces with a frown-like expression on its face, its adorable orange eyes scanning all the faces. Following Blaze's appearance, the eyes of all the young soldiers widened, and their jaws dropped. What sort of power does their lord possess to make a beast appear out of thin air? Glenwood Village _ Alara and Liera sat among a group of young women of varying ages. The oldest among them was Alara, who was in her early 30s, while the youngest was a pretty lady who looked no more than 19. Each of them carried unique beauty that made them truly irresistible to the opposite sex. All of them were captives from Winterseed, trapped in the clutches of Glenwood's perverted lord. They all shared the same wish, to leave and return home. Living in Glenwood could not be considered living at all. While Lord Fagin was very perverted towards them, he hadn't been able to defile any of them because he was impotent, and his erection was as small as a baby's pinky. However, He made them do a lot of embarrassing activities every day to pleasure himself. He made them confess to him daily and remind him that he had a dragon's dick, which was far from the truth. He also made them dance, shake their bodies seductively, and do other humiliating activities. As women who respected themselves and cherished their dignity, being forced to do such activities was akin to drinking poison. At this moment, they sat in a dimly lit room inside Lord Fagin's house, looking at Alara, who stood in front of them with a serious expression on her beautiful face. The room was very big, with cleaning and farming equipment taking up most of the space. Alara observed their faces before speaking in a serious tone. The number of guards at the gate will be very small today because of the stupid party taking place. We can use that opportunity to escape. After hearing her words, the others looked at her with frowns and questioning expressions. You're still on this, Alara? You know we can't escape even if we try. Glenwood is not like Winterseed, which has a very weak border defense. We will be caught before we even reach the gate, one of them responded. The others nodded at her reply. There was no one among the women who didn't know about Alara's stubbornness. While all of them wanted to leave, Alara was more serious about it and ready to take unnecessary risks. Alara gently turned her head to the speaker. They would only catch us if we escape without any plans. With a solid plan, I'm sure we will be able to leave. But why isn't any of you asking me? Why the sudden seriousness? All the women exchanged gazes. When have you not been very serious? They asked. Alara could only sigh. I know you think I'll get into trouble for always trying to leave and take matters into my hands. But if we don't leave now, we will lose our home to these people. Winterseed as a village will cease to exist. What do you mean, Winterseed will cease to exist? Liera asked with worry in her voice. Good question. Early this morning, I snuck into the battle chamber and overheard Fagin and his men plotting to invade Winterseed. They plan to kill our young lord and seize control of everything, Alara revealed, causing the women to gasp in surprise. That is very bad. Didn't young Lord Rowan say he wouldn't go against the vassal decree? Why are they trying to kill him even though he is on their side? One asked. Yes. Weren't you the one who told us Lord Rowan is not going to take any action against them? Alara listened to the questions before replying. That's what we heard, but it seems Fagin has a spy in Winterseed. Whatever that spy told him, it's made him want to kill Lord Rowan. We can't let that happen. Alara discussed the situation further with the women, finding it hard to make them take risks alongside her. After some back-and-forth conversation, they finally came to a conclusion. Fine. If we want to escape successfully without being caught, then we have to draw the attention of the men away from the gate, one of them suggested. Alara nodded. That was actually her plan from the beginning, but knowing them, she knew they would most likely not accept it, which is why she never mentioned it. I will stay behind to do that. Liera stood up and volunteered, causing everyone to look at her, especially Alara. Alara and Liera were captured on the same day. When they arrived, the young soldiers of Glenwood always tried to have their way with her. Liera was always shy and unable to fight back. Alara had been the one driving off the young soldiers. She saw Liera as her little sister and always protected her. Hearing that Liera was volunteering to do something so dangerous made her very sad and worried. Are you sure? She asked, her worries evident. Liera calmly nodded. The soldiers on duty today are among those who always tried to woo me. I'm sure I'll be able to distract them easily. You don't have to worry about me. As long as your mission to inform Lord Rowan is successful, I would be very happy, she replied with a smile. Alara could not believe her ears. Without her around, those perverted little pricks would use force on Liera and defile her. Barely thinking of those little pricks laying their hands on Liera made her angry. But she could only sigh. All right then, that is settled, she let out. For soldiers sat beside the gate with their swords relaxing on the ground. They all looked to be around the age of 19 to 23. 2 of them were devouring chicken wings, while the other 2 drank beers from big mugs. Meh, I hate that old geezer. How can he send us to the gate and deny us such a big party? I heard all the maidens would be present, and Lord Fagin even planned on inviting those hot chicks from Winterseed. One of them complained, taking a big sip of beer. I'm still pissed at the captain. He could have sent others, but he decided to send us. What an old geezer. I heard he's pursuing that fierce winter seed woman, the one called Alara, another replied. Oh, Lord Fagin's favorite bitch. Yeah, that one. Damn, the captain is pretty ballsy to chase Lord Fagin's woman, the young soldier said with a laugh. We all know Lord Fagin can't do shit with those women. They're better off with the captain. The young men discussed among themselves, unaware of the group of women sneaking close to them. Liera turned her head to the women hiding behind a building close to the exit of Glenwood and nodded. Then she adjusted her dress and started walking toward the soldiers. The young soldiers were still talking when they noticed her, and their mood lightened up. Like ants attracted to sugar, they all ran towards her. Liera, you look so pretty today, as usual. Liera, come play with me. I have big balls. Liera hated their disgusting remarks, but she played along, revealing a charming smile. The men at the party are really old for me, so I came to look for you guys, she said in a voice capable of making the soldiers' little brothers twitch with excitement. Come with me. My balls aren't the only thing that's big. My room is as well. How about we see all your rooms first? I'll pick the best one, Liera replied. As the boys came closer, their lust became even clearer, but it was just what she wanted. She gave a hand signal to Alara and the others, and they immediately ran towards the half-open gate. They noiselessly pushed it open and ran out. Before leaving, Alara turned to look at Liera with a sad expression. She swore in the southern forest, the soldiers stared at Rowan and Blaze, dumbfounded, their eyes and mouths wide open in shock. When they saw a powerful-looking wolf fall out of thin air, they immediately assumed it was a divine beast. Their shock and curiosity only grew. A divine beast? I can't believe it. Lord Rowan has a divine beast. What? A divine beast? Those powerful creatures blessed with divine powers? My grandfather used to tell stories about them, but he always said a village like ours would never lay eyes on one because only powerful kingdoms and empires have what it takes to raise and use them. My grandfather also told me that a single divine beast can wipe out a group of 100 hobgoblins in less than 3 minutes. This is insane. Lord Rowan has truly awakened with God's blessings. Our village will be great again. The young soldiers reacted, voicing their shock and excitement. As for the captains and Brandon, they were too stunned to speak. Unlike the young soldiers, who only heard about divine beasts in midnight tales, the three of them had actually encountered divine beasts before, and it wasn't a pleasant experience. They could still remember the day when a giant golden eagle flew past their village at a devastating speed, powerful enough to fell tall trees and shatter numerous buildings. It was a sight etched in the minds of anyone at least 50 years old in Winterseed. If their village had a divine beast, the possibilities for greatness in the future were endless. The young lord was truly blessed. Rowan and Blaze observed everyone calmly, Blaze with curiosity and Rowan with pride. But this was no time to bask in pride. This is my pet, Blaze. It's a divine beast and will certainly grow very strong in the future, Rowan began. I know most of you are scared we might be suddenly attacked by monsters, so I'll let Blaze patrol the area. With its keen sense of smell, it will detect the arrival of any monsters, he continued. Hearing his words, the villagers felt relieved, especially Brandon, who let out a loud sigh. With that issue settled, everyone grabbed their equipment and proceeded to work. Each tree was assigned 10 soldiers, who swung their swords against it in rapid motion. Some did it plainly, while others tried to use the swordmaster technique they had been learning. Very soon, the once quiet forest was filled with the cacophony of soldiers working hard. Even Brandon lifted an axe and swung it against the thick trunks of a very tall tree. Despite being in his late middle age, he still had a lot of strength and was able to work. The two captains joined in as well, working together since their pace was much faster than the younger soldiers. They both used their swordmaster skills, following a uniform and strong pattern as they swung their swords. However, taking down a tree with very thick trunks would take them around 30 minutes. For the young soldiers, it would take about 2 hours because the trees had far bigger and stronger trunks than those on Earth. Rowan sat on his horse, watching them work with an impressed smile on his face. Blaze was perched on his shoulder, observing the area with curiosity, its round eyes almost glowing with intensity. As they both watched together, Rowan suddenly noticed a change in Blaze's stats. Blaze. Race, Ash Firewolf. Foundation Realm, Low Stage, 1%. Unlock Skills, Fireball, LV1. The 1%, beside its Cultivation Realm, wasn't there the last time Rowan checked Blaze's status. Seeing it now made a smile creep onto his face. This is incredible. It hasn't even been 24 hours, and it's already making progress. But I never saw Blaze actively absorbing mana. Could it be that it absorbs mana passively? Rowan wondered. If that were the case, it would be incredible, especially since Blaze was still in its infant phase, a period of playfulness in its life cycle. With this kind of speed in passive mana absorption, Rowan could only imagine how fast active absorption would be. The thought made him smile, and he couldn't help but punch Blaze's fluffy cheeks. Squeak, squeak. Blaze let out 2 dismayed squeaks and gave Rowan a cold glare, as if telling him not to touch it. What? You're my pet. You should be happy with my touches and praises, you little rascal, Rowan grumbled. Blaze responded with another cold stare and returned to observing the men with keen eyes. Rowan couldn't help but frown. This pet was indeed mischievous. Last night, it only let Rowan touch it because of the food pill. Now that it wasn't hungry, it had become unfriendly again. 3 hours slowly passed in the South Forest. It was now the cool and bright hours of the evening. At this moment, 6 trees had been successfully taken down, and another 5 were in progress. The captains were the first to succeed after about 30 minutes. Then they moved on to another tree and finished it in less than an hour. After taking down the second tree, they began bucking the fallen ones to make them smaller and easier to move back to the village. On the other hand, it took a group of 47 soldiers to take down the other 4, and those soldiers fell to the ground, worn out after succeeding. Only the 2 captains still had energy, displaying the difference between them and the others. Rowan didn't just sit down and watch them work. After the first hour of sitting and interacting with Blaze, he decided to supervise. He was currently supervising a group of tired young soldiers who were swinging their swords with their last bits of strength. They were already very exhausted. I should help at least, Rowan thought. However, before he could assist them, Blaze began to make a series of loud squeaks, drawing both Rowan's and the soldiers' attention. Blaze squeaked loudly, eyes wide with terror, its fur bristling as it clung tightly to Rowan. The mischievous glint in its gaze was gone, now replaced by pure fear. Rowan's eyes narrowed as he sensed that something was terribly wrong. Shriek! A loud and terrifying shriek blasted across the entire area. Rowan and the soldiers were working diligently when, without warning, a loud shriek blasted across the forest. It was not just loud, it seemed to vibrate through the very air, echoing from somewhere dangerously close. Following the bone-chilling shriek, small animals fled the area in panic. Rowan's eyes widened, and he quickly alerted, "Everyone, move away from the trees. Fast!" Even before his sudden call, the soldiers had already begun backing away from the trees out of fear. Brandon also moved with them. The fear on his face was evident. The captain stopped removing the fallen trees, grabbed their swords, and sprinted towards Rowan. "Lord Rowan," they called out in unison as they arrived beside Rowan, who was backing away while looking at the forest. Blaze was still on his shoulder, letting out terrified shrieks and clinging to him. "A monster is nearby, and it's already been alerted by our presence. It should be coming towards us as we speak," Rowan said with a frown on his face. As Rowan was discussing the current situation with the captains, loud, heavy steps suddenly sounded from within the forest. The monster was already nearby. "Damn, we didn't even go deep into the forest." Rowan cursed through gritted teeth. Though he had been warned beforehand about monsters, he still didn't expect that one would truly come, even without venturing deep into the forest. The only valid explanation was that the noise had awakened whatever monster was coming towards them. But now wasn't the time to think. Rowan took out the 2 swords left in his inventory and held them in both hands. He took an assertive stance, clutching the swords, ready for battle. Everyone, grab your weapon and prepare to engage in battle soon. Remember all the sword techniques you have been practicing? This is the time to put them to use and defend yourselves. Is that understood? He announced. The soldiers gulped nervously, grabbed their weapons, and began stepping back, eyes fixed on the forest, ready to see what enemy they would be facing. Even Brandon clutched his axe, preparing to fight for his life. The atmosphere around them was serious, and the tension was palpable. The steps from within the forest grew louder every second, causing the soldiers to panic even more. Rowan and the two captains standing in front of the 100-plus soldiers kept their eyes focused on the path ahead of them. Due to the tall trees and the large amount of harsh grass, seeing what lay beyond the first row of trees became impossible. They could only see darkness. Rowan received many messages about the terrified state of his soldiers, but he ignored them. Then another window opened, containing a challenge. His first challenge since he transmigrated. A challenge has been triggered. Challenge: defeat the threat without losing anyone. Reward: 20,000 evolution points. I wasn't planning on losing anyone in the first place, thought Rowan. Blaze, get ready. Your fireball will be needed in this fight. All right? He whispered to Blaze while his eyes remained fixed on the forest. Blaze let out a low squeak, accepting his words. 30 seconds passed, and the steps grew even louder and stranger. It was as though there was more than one monster coming towards them. The soldiers gulped, sweat dripping down their faces. Since they joined the army, for most of them, this was their first intense moment, the first time they ever felt that if they didn't fight, they would die. As the steps drew closer, their heartbeats became even faster. However, all of a sudden, the steps halted, plunging the area into a short moment of deep, awkward silence. What's happening? Why did the steps suddenly stop? Is it over already? Rowan wondered. His thoughts were the same as everyone's at that moment. Following the ear-piercing silence, the rustling of bushes spread across the area, drawing their attention toward the thick bush at the edge of the forest, which seemed to be shaking violently. Rowan's grip on his swords tightened as the rustling grew louder. His eyes narrowed, scanning the trembling bush ahead. Then, unexpectedly, a small rat darted out of the bush, squeaking frantically as it scurried across the ground. It was a tiny creature, harmless and insignificant in comparison to the fear they had just experienced. The soldiers gasped in surprise and even began to chuckle in amusement. Was it just a rat causing all the commotion? They asked themselves. Just a rat, Brandon muttered. He couldn't believe what he had just experienced. But before calmness could fully settle, the ground began to tremble again. This time, the sound of heavy, thudding footsteps was much louder and more menacing than before. Rowan's eyes widened in alarm as he realized the true danger was yet to come. "Get ready," he shouted, his voice cutting through the soldiers' fleeting amusement. The urgency in his tone brought everyone back to full alert. From the very spot where the small rat had emerged, the bushes suddenly exploded outward as a large group of gigantic, rat-like monsters surged forward, their red eyes glowing with malice. Each of them was around the size of a large dog, their fur matted, and their teeth bared, dripping with saliva. They all looked hungry for flesh. The soldiers' faces turned ashen as the horde bore down on them. The brief moment of relief vanished, replaced by sheer terror as the reality of the situation hit them like a tidal wave. "Damn it!" Rowan cursed loudly, his frustration and fear mixing as he prepared to confront the oncoming threat. Blaze looked at the monstrous rats, each one at least 7 times its size, with wide, terrified eyes. Its life hadn't even lasted a day, and already it was facing a battle against terrifying monsters. Rowan observed the monsters storming out of the forest with keen eyes. He hadn't expected this many monsters to suddenly attack. He was cautious enough to not enter the forest, but sadly, that could not stop the monsters from picking up on the sound of nearby human activities. These monsters, Ratax as they're called, are rat-like creatures. Among all the monsters known to mankind, Ratax are the only omnivores. They eat edible plants and fruits when available, and when they aren't, they start eating smaller animals and humans. They are truly dangerous. At this moment, watching more than 200 of these monsters storming towards them made some of the young soldiers wet their pants. The loud, collective marching of the Raytax as they drew closer was terrifying, as were the bright red eyes that seemed to pierce deep into the young soldiers' souls. As the Raytax drew closer, the soldiers became even more terrified, with some even considering running back home. Everyone, this is a fight for your life and your people. The moment you let your guard down, you lose everything you hold dear in this life. Rowan addressed them once again. With his super voice activated, his words immediately motivated the young soldiers. Grabbing their weapons, they let out a collective war cry, confirming they were ready to fight. Attack! Following Rowan's words, all the soldiers charged towards the Raytax, with the two captains in front, running at a speed unmatched by the young soldiers. Shriek! Seeing their prey running aggressively towards them, the Raytax let out a collective shriek, and their red eyes glowed even more intensely. Running ahead of the soldiers, Rowan was the first to reach his first Raytax. The Raytax immediately leapt towards him, its mouth wide open, revealing sharp, jagged teeth ready to bite Rowan's neck off. Your pet has activated Fireball. However, before it could reach Rowan, a fireball the size of a man's head blasted towards it, hitting it. The Raytax let out a painful shriek as sharp burns inflicted its body while its fur began to burn. It was a painful experience for the Raytax. It lost all its will to fight and fell to the ground. Blaze has slayed Raytax. Rowan looked at Blaze clinging to his shoulder and flashed him a proud smile before returning his eyes to the monster-human battle ahead. The soldiers and the Raytax clashed completely, the Raytax attacking with their sharp teeth and claws while the soldiers fought back with swords. With gritted teeth and determination to survive, they swung their weapons. Fear was evident on their faces. The voice in their heads kept telling them to escape as soon as possible. But the determination to not be cowards and survive pushed them further, making them appear fearless in the eyes of their predators. Brandon, who hadn't swung a weapon his entire life, was swinging a heavy axe at this moment. "I refuse to die at the hands of filthy monsters like you," he muttered to himself repeatedly as he swung the axe. The axe met the head of a Raytax. The Raytax fell to the ground, but wasn't badly injured. It gave Brandon a glare and charged at him once again. This time Brandon stood his ground, his eyes fixed on the Raytax. When it closed the distance, he immediately swung his axe again, but it only managed to make the Raytax fall into a brief second of heavy dizziness. Taking the opportunity, Brandon continuously swung the axe, hitting the same spot until a ghastly wound appeared, digging deeper into the Raytax's tough body with every swing. Being a man without powers or combat training, it was naturally difficult for Brandon to fight a monster around twice as strong as him. With an axe, a captain like Rowan would have taken care of the Raytax in about a minute, but it took Brandon much longer. Only after 6 minutes of continuously hitting the same spot did the Raytax bleed to death. "My first kill." Brandon's eyes widened as he observed the corpse on the ground, finding it difficult to believe he had just killed something he dreaded for most of his life. However, not only Brandon had his first kill in this battle, a large number of young soldiers did as well. It was their breakthrough and a reminder that, though monsters are strong, they lack intelligence and sheer will. The battle continued. The bright evening gradually turned dark, speaking volumes about the amount of time that had passed. At this moment, the battlefield had become bloody. Corpses of a gigantic Raytax lay bare on the ground, piled into small hills in some areas. Unfortunately, the loss wasn't entirely on the Raytax side. Many soldiers had been badly injured and had fled to the back. Currently, only around 55 soldiers out of 120 were still battling the Raytax, whose numbers had also drastically decreased. Rowan could be seen in the heart of the battlefield, executing his sword technique and slaying Raytax as fast as he could. Even Blaze was genuinely involved in the battle, having burned 6 Raytax with its fireball. You slayed X3 Raytax plus 50 evolution points. Ding! 100x reward activated. 5,000 evolution points have been added. You slayed X2 Raytax plus 40 evolution points. Ding! 100x reward activated. 5,000 evolution points have been added. As Rowan continued to fight the Raytax, he realized they were easier and faster to kill, about twice as fast as the goblins. They were so weak that Rowan could kill 3 of them in less than 5 seconds, gaining chunks of evolution points. I haven't evolved my power yet, and I'm already this strong against Raytax. What if I evolve? How strong would I be? Rowan pondered, the sheer thought of becoming extraordinarily strong filling him with passion to slay more and farm more evolution points to aid his evolution. It's getting really dark now. The Raytax will have a strong advantage over us when it is completely dark due to their night vision, he thought. I was too carried away in the fight with goblins and forgot to copy their night vision skill. Luckily, these Raytax have it. Raytax, health, 89%. Special skill, night vision, copy? Yes, no. Status, hungry. Without hesitation, he copied the skill and merged with it immediately. Skill, night vision, FF rank. Copied successfully. Merging with night vision, FF rank, completed. Night vision, FF rank, passive skill, grants clear sight in dark places. As this skill merged with Rowan, he felt his vision become much clearer, as though it was still the bright hours of morning. Great! He rejoiced inwardly and immediately stormed towards the Raytax, charging at him. With a simple swing of his sword, the head of the Raytax detached from its body. The fight continued for about 2 more hours before the last Raytax dropped to the ground. We've won! Brandon let out a loud scream of excitement. We did it! We did it! The young soldiers quickly joined him in rejoicing. Even the injured joined in. It was a miracle that they survived. But Rowan stared at his system with a frown on his face. Challenge. Defeat the threat without losing anyone. Status. Active. We have slain the Raytax down to the very last one. So why is the challenge still displaying active? Rowan frowned. He turned to scan the surrounding area. With night vision, he could see more clearly, and there was no Raytax in sight, not even a single moving rat. Is there something wrong with the system? He asked himself. But before he could question the system, a very loud and terrifying footstep was heard. The mere step caused the ground around them to tremble, quickly ending the jubilation.